After the Talk on WPPMLP Philadelphia 106.5 FM. We Talk Weeklies After the Talk with your boy Charles Gregory and the beautiful.
Classy Lady Sparkle.
And the beautiful.
Lady Esther.
And we are here today with another dynamic show. I'm super excited about this show. And why am I super excited? Let me tell you why I'm super excited. Because we're starting with one of the segments with whom, you know, that I truly love to death. Why? Because I'm interviewing the people who are out there doing the good old work, the people who are making a difference in the community. And that's one of my favorite segments of the show because I get to talk to the good old folks. And today we have someone with whom I have a tremendous amount of respect for. Been digging up this brother, been digging up a lot of the great things, fantastic things that he has been doing. So, Classy, why don't you let me know who do we have today? Man?
Today we have Dr. Stephen Fleming. He is a teacher at MLK, Martin Luther King High School here in Philadelphia.
Pause for that.
That's right.
There you go.
Mr. Fleming advises students on their Behind the Eyes of Our Youth podcast. He and his students are incredible and they are super passionate about current events. Dr. Fleming highlights the voices of young people in our city. Those high schoolers are really impressive, says Dr. Fleming. They've been featured on Chalk Beat, and we will have a link later on our website so that you can check that out. But give a warm We Talk Weekly welcome to Dr. Stephen Fleming.
My brother. How are you?
Welcome.
Thanks for asking. How are you, sir?
Fantastic. First and foremost, I'd like to thank you for coming to the show and talking a little bit about some of the work that you have been doing, especially as it relates to our young folk, right?
Yes, sir.
Because, you know, they're our future, right? And I think oftentimes they are kind of miscategorized, you know. They're the way that they are interpreted is a little skewed, right? And I think if we have people whom, like yourself, can articulate their positions, I think we'll be in a better space, right? And so let's start there with your work and why did you essentially start that particular genre or scope of work? Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. I would venture to argue that they are our now, in addition to being our future. Many of them are 18, and I do work with some seniors.
Okay.
But why? One, it is my position that I didn't give them a voice, but that I elevate their voice. They have a lot to say. They have a lot to communicate. They have a lot they want to get off their chest. And media, like Behind the Eyes of Our Youth podcast, which we started during the pandemic, is one way that they can just speak freely, speak their mind freely on any topic that they want without fear of reprisal, without fear, without any apprehension, without inhibition. So that's why we got into it. It's part of our communications class, which is a dual enrollment class that we partner with Harrisburg University to give them a college credit for. So that's how it got started.
Interesting. That's pretty big. What are as we are coming out of this election, right? One of the things that we try our best to amplify and give platform to are our young people having a voice in this this noise of politics, right? And also supporting them in performing their civic engagement, right?
Yes.
What are your thoughts as it relates to supporting, our young people in civics and them being able to articulate their policies and position? Yeah.
Absolutely. So they do have thoughts on everything from who should be president, who shouldn't be president. And so my thoughts are we ought to listen to them, first of all. As adults, sometimes we need to step away from the mic and give it to our students. As you correctly stated, they are our future. Many of them are our now and have voted in this election. So allowing them to speak freely, understanding that they are voters, one. Two, they will be the leaders of this nation. Think of the youngest person in Congress right now, and he's their age. He's a few years older than them. So what they do, how they think, their thoughts on policies matter. And platform, like I said, like Behind the Eyes of Our Youth podcast, which is a part of our class, gives them that. Ability to speak freely on any topic of their choosing, including politics, and they have, and they will continue to do so, as I've seen. And I just step back and let them have at it.
I love that.
Speaking about that, because teens have a very raw view of things, how has that challenged you or changed your perspective on views that you've previously had and now have changed it based on your students?
Yeah.
Right. So, they have very raw thoughts and opinions on any myriad number of topics. Personally, some of my positions probably have not changed, but that's okay too. One of the principles that I live by is that we welcome a healthy debate. We welcome healthy conversation, even if we disagree. If everyone agreed, it wouldn't be much of a podcast. It wouldn't be much of a discussion. We'd all just be rehearsing some of the same points that we all have. But I don't voice my opinion much at all. I am quite literally quiet as they are speaking. So we record on Thursdays, and I just step back. I hold the microphones up to them. I don't even do that. They hold the microphones. I just make sure the recording is going, and that we don't, that the mics are working and things like that, because we've messed up in the past. But no, they have at it. It is them. It is student driven.
What kind of topics do they talk about?
Name it. You name it. So they could go from anime to food, whether or not sugar goes in grits. Whether or not sugar goes in grits, whether or not sugar goes in spaghetti, to politics, to Black lives, to the role of police in the neighborhood, to the cause of gentrification, to you name it. And the way they decide, they submit topic ideas, and I just piece it together on a ballot and let them vote. And that's how we decide what they talk about from week to week.
Nice.
Interesting. One in giving platform to their voice at this moment, what were some of the things as it relates to the issues and concerns that they had going into the election and post-election?
So going into the election, they are very much anti. Can I say they are anti one particular party?
I got you.
Over the other. Some of the things they were concerned about were some of the things that we hear the adults speaking about. Them having control over their bodies, particularly women and reproductive rights. They were concerned about the economy. They were concerned about taxes and things like that. And they voiced their opinion on it. I'm trying to think of some other ones off the top of my head. Those are some of the pressing issues. They argue that sometimes it doesn't matter which party is in power, that the plight of Black lives seems to be the same. Just recently they recorded an episode where they talked about not being safe walking in certain neighborhoods in Philadelphia proper. So these are some of the things top of mind that I could think of right off the top of my head.
Yeah. Have you seen, and I'm interested in your perspective, have you seen not necessarily a shift, but what do you notice that's different in concerns, policies when you were their age, and how they, articulate their concerns now?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I thought about it as much as they're thinking about it. I was interested in politics, but they are able to voice them, and their opinions are informed. It could be the prevalence of social media, which I did not have. Cell phones were not a thing. And then, I was 19 when I got my first phone. There was no internet connectivity or anything like that. You had to load it with minutes.
We had beepers.
We that we did.
Turn it upside down. It reads a word.
Or not, because they thought you were a drug dealer. So,
Yeah, how about that?
but they were available. They were available. So I think with the prevalence of traditional media and social media, they have this information quite literally at their fingertips. So while I was interested, it's whatever I caught on the World News at 6:30, whereas they can immediately pop open their phone. It's on their social media feed. If they have assignments in it, which every now and again, some of the teachers might assign, they have to be involved in it. Our current affairs, we had to get a newspaper, and read an article and report back on it. But it is literally at their fingertips. So their ability to be able to articulate it, literally at the drop of a dime. I could bring them in here right now, and
Wow.
it wouldn't take much for them to get started at all. Ask them a question, and they're going for 45 minutes.
Fantastic. Well, we love the youth here. We love the young people. They're more than welcome. One thing we always say to the show is once you come to the show, you're a friend to the show anyway.
Awesome.
So we'll extend that invitation if they ever want to be a part of that, and you can
I would
come
love
with
it.
them. Absolutely. And so, it's interesting that you say that, and I like the idea that what we're seeing is a switch in cultures now. We're seeing a shift in how we perceive what is important to us, right? Because thinking where I was at 18, 19, I could care less about politics, but more about, am I going to get locked up? Right? We were talking about prison reform, and mass incarceration, and that was kind of on the forefront. But now it's interesting to see that they're pulling back the layers and digging deep, right? What do you think that is a result of? Do you think it is a social media thing that got them more involved? Do you think that we are being, I guess, more responsible in articulating messages? What do you think? What can you attribute, their interest in politics to?
Right. I think it's all the above, to be honest with you. And as you asked the question, I was thinking about 2020. I think that perhaps maybe shoved them into politics where they may not have been interested before. Unfortunately, with the murder of Breonna Taylor,
Yeah, for sure.
Ahmaud Arbery,
Say their
George
name.
Floyd,
That's right.
absolutely
Say
indeed.
their name. Yeah.
So with their murders, and we had no choice but to be glued to our social media because we couldn't do anything. We were locked at home.
That's right.
Or television. I think that sparked perhaps this modern era of activism, of political intrigue, etc. I really do think and plus, I think teachers are starting to not be as apprehensive about sharing political views, even if it's on the low, whereas we're taught not to. It's kind of hard not to, because not articulating a position is articulating a position
I got you,
in
yeah,
many
for
respects,
sure.
because it
Yeah.
so I think all of the above.
Okay.
In addition to the fact the prevalence of social media, and you can't escape it. Influencers are into politics now. Just recently, some of the students said that perhaps a lot of youth voted for the former president because I forget the name of the influencer who had him on the show on a Twitch feed or something like that. Yeah. So they thought that could have been one reason why perhaps some of the youth gravitated toward him.
Interesting. You would think that you have like your Beyoncés and your Meg Thee Stallions, they were doing some things for the Democratic Party. You would think that maybe that was a draw. Have you heard anything from the young people you work with that says that was enticing for them to vote for a particular party? Have you heard anything like that?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Actually,
Right.
I don't think not the students that I work with are interested necessarily in these superstars positions. I have heard Dr. Fleming was talking to my older brother, or old OG down at the barbershop was saying this, that, and the third.
Sure.
They were saying that XYZ, things like that. But they don't bring up. I don't think they're as influenced by them as perhaps mass media would like for us to think that they are.
For sure.
I've also learned working with the students that they're not always as progressive as we tend to think that they might be.
For sure.
They're very moderate left. Just listening to them, even just recently, an episode that we recorded. But I don't think they love their music. That's what they listen to them for. But I don't think they're swayed by their political opinion. I think if they went the other way, then they might have something to say. If they went, hard right, then they might have something to say about it. But no, not influenced in my experience.
Dr. Fleming, is there a teacher or mentor from your life that may have been mentored to you or have helped you with this leadership of teaching youth?
That's a great question.
There is. So shout out to Miss Raj Jones Johnson, my 6th grade science teacher. So I went to a very selective middle school in the city, public school, somewhere along in the Spring Garden area of the city.
No, we're not going to name it?
Masterman.
Yes.
I didn't know if I was allowed. No,
Absolutely.
Masterman Middle School. for sixth, seventh, and eighth grade, and black people were in the minority then. We could just say that out loud. We were in the minority, and she recognized that. And so she was hard on me, very, very hard on me. And I didn't understand.
In a good way or bad way?
In a good way.
In a
That's a
good
really
way,
good
okay.
question.
She saw your potential.
She said as much because I caught up with her years later. So she was still teaching or active with our union when I became a teacher. So I did have opportunities to speak with her. And one day I asked her straight out why she was so hard on me. I needed answers because I found myself teaching like her, being hard on the students that I had at the time when I was teaching elementary school in sixth grade in particular. And she said it to exactly what you said, that she saw that I came from a neighborhood public school, which was wonderful. But it wasn't as challenging as she would have liked for it to have been. And she said she saw the raw stuff in me. Those are her exact words, the raw stuff. And she felt as though she needed to mold it in a world where people were coming from money, where they could do projects. I'm thinking of a project she gave us in sixth grade. I still remember because it was somewhat traumatic for me. But she gave us the directions. We had to make something that worked. And so coming from elementary school, elementary science, a battery and a wire and a little bulb worked.
Yeah.
And so I put it, my father helped me put it together. But then I walked into a classroom where they made cartoon reels, where they made robots that were going across the floor on command. And I had at Masterman
wow.
in middle school in sixth grade.
Yeah.
And you with your battery.
And me with my battery and my light and my wire. So that is what I remember. And I didn't get a good grade. But I think she referred back to that as we became colleagues then.
Oh, wow.
And she said, they came from money. They have parents that are into these fields and they help them with it, with their projects. And you did the best you could. But she challenged me. She was a black one, Ms. Roz Jones Johnson, one of the most impactful teachers. There are quite a few, but I think of her as one of the most impactful. Shout out to Mr. Young, an older Jewish gentleman who I had too in ninth grade. And his exact words, and I'll never forget, and I think about it to this day, he told us even as freshmen that and I quote, there are white people in the suburbs who don't believe you can do this. Not that you're lazy and don't want to, but can't. And I will never forget that. And so that drives me. What do you mean I can't? I'm sitting here with a doctor. What do you mean I can't? I can and I will. And I push my students to the same. Even in a comprehensive neighborhood high school like King, and I'm there intentionally because I did have opportunities to go elsewhere, but I refused.
Wow. Nice. Can I just shout out King? I'm an alum of King. My sister is actually a barber teacher at Martin Luther King High. So
yes, indeed.
Yeah, shout out to King.
Awesome.
So I'm interested in, as we talk about those high schoolers, what would you say is the biggest misconception that we as a more mature generation or demographic, what is the biggest misconception that we have as it relates to our young people?
Yeah, indeed. I think one of the biggest misconceptions is just what Mr. Young told us years ago, that that they're lazy and don't want to learn. Nothing could be farther from the truth. Neighborhood high schools like King get a bad rap because historically, we've heard different things make the news and, whatnot, the fights and what have you. It happens, yes. Also, all right, we offer 2 dual enrollment college classes, and I teach one of them at Martin Luther King High School. Also, there are students who want to come to school, who get scholarships to go to some of the top universities across the country. Also, there's a rich multicultural student body there, Haitians, Mexicans, and they bring with them a richness in culture that is infectious in a good way and kind of spills off into the staff and to their students. So I think the biggest misconception is that they don't want to learn. Oh, these kids, put that in air quotes. These kids don't want to be here. They're not interested in education, and nothing could be farther from the truth. They want adults who believe in them. They want adults who are tough on them and love on them in a positive way. And those are the ones who they tend to gravitate towards. They call out the lazy ones. They do it. Their words. They call out the classes that we don't do nothing in there. Doc, can I come to your class? Because at least I'm learning. Their words. So I think those are some of the biggest misconceptions, that they don't want to learn, that they're not interested in their future, that they're not interested in learning. And that is absolutely a falsehood. It is a lie. They just want to be challenged. They want to be pushed and need adults to do it.
Wow.
Now, speaking on that, like you just said about teachers who aren't teaching, when that happens, and I'm not putting you on the spot, but when are the principals in the community of the school saying, hey, we're going to have to talk to this, to get involved? Because I'm not going to say that hasn't happened to me. Like, we're in class, first day, second day is cool, but then you get to a point like, well, what am I here for? Right. And then you start, doing other things. You really want to be there to learn, and you want the structure.
To learn. So that's an excellent question. So shout out to the students who have no problem speaking up about that to the principals, to the vice principals, to on the podcast, because we did record an episode a couple years ago where they did call out the school writ large on that. So that's one thing. Two, I don't know that the students necessarily go home and tell parents like we used to. I don't know that it could be happening, but I'm not sure that that's happening. But the students themselves have absolutely no problem.
But that's what I mean. Calling them out, one thing, but are they as someone in the community of the teachers, like, do you see where their voices are heard? Because calling them out is great, but if their voices aren't heard, that falls on deaf ears. So do they feel like they're being heard and actions are being done?
That's a good point. It might depend on the student themselves, to be honest with you. They know with me they have a open platform, but to the extent to which they feel as though it's being heard, that's a good question. That's worth further exploration, in my opinion. Do we have administrators who listen to students? Absolutely, they do. That I can shout out the principal and vice principals of Martin Luther King. They will listen to them. We might even see an increase perhaps in some of our observations, to be honest, not to put no teachers on blast, but we might see an increase in some of our observations. But I think they do listen. Are we also faced with a huge shortage of teachers, and may that have an impact or to some extent on decision making? I don't know. It could, because no one's knocking down the door to come teach. So there's that. Some would blame the union. The union does not hire and fire teachers. The union makes sure processes are fair. Right. I have been the subject, not where I am, but in the past, of principals who were out for retribution for teaching, because that's I'm not lazy. I just want to teach, literally. But our union is there just to make sure the process is fair. Teachers have gotten fired. Right. I've seen it with my own two eyes. So I do appreciate a body that just makes sure that the process is fair and not capricious and arbitrary.
Now, how is it as far as safety? Like, I remember back in the day they started like metal detectors and stuff. Are they still enforcing that in the schools? And do the kids feel like, hey, I'm going through a metal detector, like, that's a good thing, like you go through at the airport, like, hey, I know I'm safe, or do they feel like, man, this is corny, like,
Right. I like that question too. So because I've asked them. So yes, we still do have metal detectors. And I put out a poll on my class Instagram a few years ago what their thoughts were and feelings were about it. And they, at the time, I haven't asked students, I guess recently, at the time were completely in favor of it, and which was a shock to me as a researcher. Sometimes you want the results to be a particular way so that you can go and talk on this particular topic a particular way, but the students will surprise you. Like I said, they're not as progressive, not all the time, as sometimes we think they are. So they were completely in favor. Why? Their words to me, and I screenshotted it because I wanted to save it, were, Doc, you don't know all the time what's going on in the neighborhood, and some people could be trying to sneak certain things into the school. So these were their words. So I think the main student's gripe this year is that it takes so long because there's really like one door, and then they start receiving students at 7:30. I think that's their main gripe, is the length of time that it takes to go through it all.
Thank you for that.
You have some?
No.
Oh, okay.
He actually went into something else I was thinking.
Oh, awesome. So what would you tell? So, okay, I'm going to back up a little bit because I'm interested in addressing some of kind of the nation conversation as it relates to black men and black men kind of, being disconnected or they need to be more involved, right? How does that translate to the youth, right? Some of the boys, have you heard them express concerns or interested in policies that reflect them?
That's another good question. So first of all, let me shout out to the brothers at Martin Luther King High School because we had quite a few brothers there that both teach and coach, teach, serve in supportive roles. So kudos to them. Have the students necessarily broached issues of black men?
Yeah.
I don't recall, to be honest, whether or not it's come up directly in class or anything to that effect. Do I believe they appreciate the black men that I can see visibly in their lives on a day-to-day basis? Absolutely.
Fantastic.
That much I can say. So, they might not always be open. Every now and again, you might have a few over these. I've been at King for 8 years, been teaching for 18. Every now and again, but it's not always a big topic of discussion. Like I said, they love on and appreciate the brothers, the unks, the OGs that are in their life at King. That much I can say for sure. There is such a bond and such a connection and a realness, and everyone approaches it differently. Not every black male teacher at King is the same, but we all bring something a little different, whereas one might be love on them hard, constant with the hugs and the pounds and whatnot, and the other might be more of a disciplinarian, sit down and get this work done, bro, because this is what we hear, and others, I think of our football coach who is tough on them academically and on the football field. So we have a wide variety, and I can appreciate the sisters who every now and again will say, Doc or Coach, I need y'all to holler at so-and-so. They ain't getting no work done, this, that, and the third. And then, we double team them. They get it in class in 305 with me. They get it in practice with Coach Malik.
So
they
it's
might
the tribe.
get about it's
The
a
tribe.
tribe for
There you go.
real.
It's the
It's a
tribe.
tribe for real of black men and black women, and we have multiracial teachers, but just focusing on the black ones for right now, since we're only 7% of the public school teaching force nationwide.
Wow.
7 for every 100 teachers are black. 2
What?
are
Wait.
black men.
What?
Say that again.
Oh, say it again.
Let's
A
say
little
that
bit louder
Black
for those in the
men?
back. Testing 1, 2, 3. So yes, 7%. This is from the U.S. Department of Education. 7% of teachers, public school teachers in this country, are black. Only 7. 2%, I think it's fallen because it's not a huge demand anymore. 2% was already low, but 2%, less than 2%, are black men. So 2 for every 100 teachers, public school teachers in this country, are black men. So when you have a place like King, where I don't know what the percentage is, but we have quite a few brothers in teacher roles, coaching roles, and supportive roles, that matters. That I consider King like a HBCU on the low because it really feels like that when you walk up in there. That's just talking about misconceptions. Oh, King is this. No, walk in the door. We've had guest teachers that say, I heard so much about this school in a negative way, but when they walk in, it's something completely different. So podcasts like Behind the Eyes of Our Youth, we serve to be that counter narrative to the dominant narrative that is out there about neighborhood public schools in general, but Martin Luther King specifically.
I love the title, Behind the Eyes of Our Youth.
That's right. They came up with it. So everything was them. They came with that in 2020. They came up with the mantra. They come up with the topics. All I do is market them and put them out there.
Just to hear about the high school that I went to from 9th to 12th grade. I mean, walking in, the balcony is there, the murals. And I remember how, you yelling up at your people that's up top, and it's just, it was always love there.
Absolutely.
And like you said, there are negative things. What do you think that some of the black schools are missing that a lot of the other white schools don't? Like, what are our challenges that we don't get that they do?
Gotcha.
As an educator.
So some are basics, like climate control, and I'm not talking about behavior. I'm talking about actual climate control.
Actual climate control.
Because little things, like we had this little heat spell recently in November,
no AC,
and of course we didn't
Wow.
expect that, but by then the systems were already switched over to heat, so it was hot inside of King. So little things like that. I think of fresh paint. So we can talk about the aesthetics, and to me that matters because a school that looks as beautiful as King is, and it is a beautiful, beautiful school, and people that come in are just astounded at just how beautiful the campus is and the potential that it has. So in addition to the aesthetics, some basics, chemistry labs, additional dual enrollment or AP courses. In some cases, a math teacher. Like we need a math teacher. One math teacher, one in particular for algebra and geometry, and just put that out there. I think about things like that. So some things that people in the suburbs or in richer parts of the city within the school district of Philadelphia might take for granted, we just get so, I'm not even going to say accustomed to it, but we're so used to making do and patching things up. We've done so much with this and for so little for so long that we feel like we can do, almost anything with nothing at all. And it shouldn't have to be that way. Appreciate, our quarterback for donating air conditioners to our facilities. Yes, shout out to him. Also, the PA legislature should do what it's supposed to do and adequately fund, particularly black and brown schools that are in neighborhoods that are impoverished. This is just the reality. So we need a little bit more than they might need in the suburbs. And that's not, you taking away. No, we're making sure that the playing field is level.
I'm glad you said that because I was just getting ready to ask you, with you being on the inside, what would you say to them to say, hey, this is what we need? What you see that can be done?
Absolutely.
Because, why don't we have these things? Why are we the low man on a totem pole
Literally.
in line to get them?
Indeed. So I made a list. I actually texted out some colleagues
Come on now.
a few weeks ago. I had a particular meeting, some teachers were invited to speak with the Jalen Hurts Foundation.
Okay.
And so I made a list. I text teachers, and they sent me lists, and everything is just some basics, literally beakers, chemistry labs. And King has the space. We do. We have a nice, beautiful science wing that is underutilized because we just don't have the personnel to be able to use these spaces to their fullest potential. We have teachers, we have our teachers, but you need a lab assistant. If you're going to be handling gas and chemicals or whatnot, you need somebody else in that room. Climate staff to make sure, kids cut. That's everywhere. It's not relegated to the neighborhood school. But to manage things like that. So we have this beautiful, beautiful space, a beautiful arts wing, music suite. You can picture the school, and it's underutilized. No fault to anybody at King. It's just that we just don't have the people. Like I said, we need an algebra teacher. So I guess us asking for a music teacher is considered extra.
I
or
want to
lab
go back
assistants.
to this math teacher thing.
And it's very real. We have one to retire, which, yes, kudos. After years of service, she taught a teacher that's there now.
Okay.
But we I think the fill rate for teachers as of August was 97%, which is awesome. That's high. But 3% actually means something. So when 3%, I don't know what the raw numbers would be, but I know at King it means a math teacher, and it means at one point we needed an autistic support teacher. And these are just like very real. Now I think we've contracted out, and we do have someone there to support the autistic class in particular, and the Spanish teacher. So so there are two where teachers are constantly covering the classes, or we're getting substitutes for them.
How many math teachers do you have?
So King has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-ish.
Okay.
So we have about one per grade level. Our freshman class though is pretty large. So for them we have two. But they're large enough that we needed like one other teacher to come down from the upper grades to teach the lower grades. So that person would teach algebra and our juniors geometry. So mainly geometry, but one section of algebra. So you do have geometry classes that need a teacher, and that one algebra class that needs a teacher.
And how does that work? When you need a teacher and you're short a teacher, I'm sure that workload now falls on the teachers you have there because now you're splitting classes or the classes are larger for the ones you have.
Right.
Whose responsibility is to staff the schools with teachers?
So that's
is it
a
the
nuance
school board or like
too,
how does that work? Is a principal like doing job postings for
Right.
teachers?
How about that?
Like how does it work?
So the short answer, I know some principals that actually do post on social media for teachers, and it should not fall on the principal to post to get teachers in your building.
I didn't think it did.
No, not at all. And I guess through connections and whatnot, it may work. We used to go through a process called leveling. So leveling looked at numbers in schools and reassigned teachers up until I think like Columbus Day or something like that, or it beginning at Columbus Day, I think, accordingly. I get it. There's pros and cons. One, we will probably have a math teacher and an autistic support teacher. The con is now you didn't pull that teacher out of another building, and so now you've disrupted the climate in that building. Additionally, we see students enroll in all of our buildings all year long. So I personally was not a fan of leveling because I've seen 3 or 4 teachers taken out of King last year. And if we hadn't done that, perhaps we wouldn't be in the fix that we're in right now.
Gotcha.
Then I guess on the flip side, if I'm being objective, I'm being fair, if we did level, I do suppose we would have the teachers that we need this particular school year. So that process was meant to provide buildings that had more students than others or more classes than others, the human resources that they needed. At the same time, you were also taken from another school. Like King, we see enrollment throughout the year. That's just fact. So our argument against it was you're taking these teachers, and we know that the kids are coming all year long. And they did and do. So it's kind of a catch-22.
Wow.
But it mainly falls on the school district itself. It shouldn't be up to principals, although they do reach out and then help whoever I guess responds, forwards names to the 440 or whatever the case might be to get them through.
So we're trying to. So I'm trying to. On the show, we always talk solutions, right? And you know, as well as Martin Luther King is doing right now, especially as it relates to North Philly. Nicetown, shout out to Nicetown in that area. But I'm trying to understand what would be the ask, right? Is it support from our legislators, like city council, state rep? Is it school district? What are you doing? Is it monies to get in to get teachers? Like, what would be the ask? What would be the solution in getting the support for a school like Martin Luther King and others, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Sure. Others for sure, to be clear. So everything you said would be the ask. City Council, I think, puts up a great deal of money that the state has not. So, and some may disagree with me, but I think they're doing what they can. Okay. We see the imbalance in Harrisburg. In fact, our system of funding education in Pennsylvania was recently ruled unconstitutional because it was not fair. And it was ruled unconstitutional by a relatively conservative judge.
Wow.
So, and she charged that the legislator go back and fix it, in other words. The extent to which they fixed it this past budget cycle has yet to be determined, but it was ruled unconstitutional. So the ask would be, yes, I would still lobby City Hall for more. Okay. I would definitely lobby Harrisburg for more. On the teacher and human resource side, not many people are going into education like they used to. Yeah. And so that is problematic. Schools of education are seen declining in enrollment. And you know, one, you can see the way teachers are being treated. That could turn people off. Okay. It certainly does not pay relative to other professionals out there. If you're 22, 23, and you're coming out as a nurse making 80 G's, 90 G's from the rip, and then you talk about coming into education, you make it, I think, was the starting salary now, I don't know what, 50, 55 now. And you know, that's not a whole lot if you have a family, if you living in the city, and
rent
a car,
mortgage.
Just rent by itself. You know what I mean? So you know, it might be good if you by yourself, you're 21, and you're single, no kids, no car. But I don't know if that's everybody's testimony. No house, yes, listen, roommates up the wazoo. So the ask would be, yes, I do believe the money is there. I do not think for 1 second that the money does not exist. Okay. I don't think the political will exists at all. in particularly in Harrisburg, writ large. I do believe we have quite a few. I think it's Senator Vincent Hughes and others who push and push and push to try to get what we need here in the city of Philadelphia. And he compares his district, covers some parts of Philadelphia and parts of Montgomery County, and he says things like you can literally cross over the county line and see quite a stark difference in education funding.
So is that a Texas thing? Like how? So I'm trying to understand why is it so different? Like you said, literally just crossing over City Line Avenue is completely different, right? And so what does that come from so people can kind of understand like the differences and if they can even actually help,
Right.
Yeah.
So a great deal of public school funding does come from property taxes.
Okay.
So then, if that's the case, all you got to do is look at your rich suburbs and
for sure.
the fewer schools, and I'm just put it out there, and less other types of schools where the money is funneled away from the public school system, and they have it. And then you have parents that where there is a difference don't have a problem writing a check to make up there because they can, and then you come to Philadelphia. Where now property taxes seem to be increased, but we're the biggest poorest city, the largest poorest city in the country, and that's not Steve Fleming saying it. This is the Economist saying the largest poorest city, the largest poorest. I think I'm saying that right in the country. That matters. Also, there are some things that I think City Hall can do to help bring money in. They had an abatement program that exists. So you're talking about, at one point it was 10 years. It's been a while since I followed up on it. I think it's been reduced. I'm thinking of politicians who fought against it. But you're literally giving away money to developers for, at that time, 10 years. Again, somebody could correct me what it is right now, but it was 10-year abatement. So that's property tax relief for 10 years.
Yeah, that they don't have to pay into our system, our schools.
And you just look around the city. There must still be something going on because clearly nothing has stopped builders from building in this city. There are cranes everywhere. And I think about and it's nice to see this boom. And then people like me say, also, it would be great to see our public schools experience that. The new cruise ship is about to dock. We're about to get a cruise ship, port down at down in South Philly. I don't know if I guess it's still in the planning stages. But I'm like, another thing without fixing up. Can we get some air? We just want air and heat. Because we still dismissing schools early in the summertime. When we go back in August because they are not air conditioned.
And they had to take into consideration that our climate period has changed and has shifted.
There we go.
Because I think the standard is heat and air. Well, heat goes off in April, air comes on, and then air goes off in October and heat comes on. So you didn't shut the air off and got heat on in October, and we just had an 80-degree day in November.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Crazy,
It was like November 5th.
It was hot. I brought my fan from home because I was just that hot.
Right.
In November. That's problematic for me.
Yeah. But it's when it's in public places like that, and that's all public places, buses, and we don't have, in schools, you don't have the ability to adjust.
Right. Exactly right.
One last question, Dr. Fleming. They took a lot of curriculum that was for kids and that was for realistic things that happen, like shop or home ec. How, as a teacher, when you have to follow a curriculum, do you stay in that curriculum or... And I don't want to put you on the spot because I know. But how do we really enrich our kids when they're giving you this curriculum and they're telling you, oh, don't talk about the base theory, the critical base, like don't teach.
Critical race theory.
Right. Don't teach these things, but these things are important for our children. So how do you, as an educator, go about that?
So I think there needs to be a certain degree of a risk tolerance because I'm a teacher, and I have no problem saying that even here, because what I don't appreciate is certain politicians trying to erase our history.
Yeah, no.
I am here. We exist. Get over it. Build a bridge and get over it. And we're not going away at all. We didn't survive this long. We ain't going nowhere no time soon. But to your point, I think there's a certain degree of risk tolerance. Yes, the school district does say teach the curriculum, But there's ways to also infuse these principles and these historical truths into the curriculum as well. I'm fortunate where I don't teach a traditional core subject class, so I have a great deal of leeway in what I can teach and present. But even though I was a full-time English teacher, we had our discussions, and it was based off of the curriculum. We just asked questions, and then it just led to discussion. Isn't that what you want? Engagement and all this other kind of stuff. Well, what better way than to introduce this particular question or this particular topic that's based off of what you told me to read with the class? You shouldn't have told me to read it.
So,
to talk about
what are your thoughts on like taking out home ec and shop and things that would help the youth as they become older?
Right. I think we need them all. We need them all. These are some of the basics that I think many of our suburban schools take for granted. I wish in fact, a student just recently, last week as in recently, told a colleague next door how much he wished that we had these things, his words. And he didn't grow up in an era where you had home ec and all that, and shop in particular. But he said, we learned the same thing over and over again. His words, and I quote, he's bored. We learn the same thing every year. Why we got to keep learning the same thing? I want to be able to do stuff. I want to be able to, I think he wants to take up photography and things like that. Again, things that aren't a second thought in some schools. It just is. But unfortunately, in our schools, art is a luxury. Photography is a luxury. What kind of sense does that make? And so I believe they should be in our schools. Period. I believe it all should be, and it shouldn't be a choice or you can have this or that. Nope. Give me music, give me art, give me photography, give me the television studio, give me a podcast studio. Hello. Give me all of that. Give us, our students, and by me I mean them, all of these. So they have options. And they can graduate with certificates, perhaps, in some of these fields, and go right into the workforce if that's what they want to do, or be 2 steps ahead in college and whatnot.
I wanna pull up this statement. Great interview. Ryan Fleming said, "Great interview." I wanna pull up this comment by Liberty Twitch, someone who watches us constantly and has different perspectives, right? They said, in our country, test scores are going backwards. We're no longer a smart country like we used to be. It says standards have gone down. So what do you say as it relates to a worldview, right? I know you're in King, but as a worldview, as it relates to, test scores, American test scores, right, as it relates to the global economy and where we fit into that.
Test scores are easy to look at.
Right.
It is simple to look at test scores and think that we are producing, robots. One of my mantras, one of my thoughts is that there is a story behind every number. So, okay, test scores are dipping. Okay, I see how students test. I see how they go through benchmarks in 2 minutes. Are you telling me that this student is not smart or is not really proficient in advance because 1, they're bored, 2, they don't feel like taking another test, 3, they might not be great test takers? I remember a clear situation when I taught 3rd grade. This student was brilliant, very well read, very articulate, a presidential historian, all right, because he, at 9 years old, knew all the presidents, knew things about the presidents. But every single time he'd take a benchmark, he'd bomb. And I'm like, wait, are you trying to tell me? Like, what? I don't understand. And so he's one. He was one. Now he's grown now. Out of so many. So I get it. I totally understand. But test scores are also arbitrary, in my opinion. The standard for proficiency moves. And then if you have instances where the same company that produces the solution is also the one that produces the test, well, then what motivation would there be for them to be any kind of independent? If my company makes the benchmark and my company makes the tutoring solutions, then I have the ability to change what proficient looks like. Right. So I get it and I understand, and I'm not putting down the position that test scores. But test scores were dipping in the 80s, and look at the era that we're living in. That's the same generation that produced some of the very things that we are experiencing and enjoying right now, technologically speaking, medically speaking, etc. So I get it, but I take test scores with caution, especially being on the inside and watching how they test. I am the test coordinator, so I'm responsible for administering the standardized tests at King in particular, and looking at the data and things like that. And I see them get done in 2 minutes.
And whole brain therapy is another type of approach where you teach kids, where you use your hands and you use creativity, and they don't take tests well, but their whole brain theory is when it's the stimulation of the brain. So
absolutely,
I probably am one of them kids.
and it's okay too.
Yeah.
It seems to be okay that some people don't do well in school and can produce a Facebook and a Twitter and things like that, and others seem to have to do well in school, period, and still are struggling to catch up with the rest of society writ large. But
So one of the things that we do here is we're inclusive with everyone, right? We try not to lean anyway, right?
Understood.
And so we invite kind of like contrasting positions on the thing, and so so I just want to pull this up real quick. It says because the left keeps lowering standards. Now, I won't blame any party, but is there an argument to say that standards are different now than it was before? Is that a legitimate argument, so to speak?
I'm going to push back against that. I don't think standards are lower.
Okay.
I do believe there are different ways that students learn, and though we are taught as educators to diversify our instruction and differentiate is the term, our instruction to meet students' individual needs, yet we test them in a very standard way.
Yeah.
All year long, I'm differentiating my lesson plans. To your point, I'm working, creating lesson plans that include the arts, because this group of students learn better when there's music or by creating music.
Yeah, for sure.
And they can learn the content that way. This group of students, they need to move. You know, they are hyped, they need to move. So we create activities where they can get up and move and whatnot. But then come May, everyone's with paper and pencil and has to be quiet for 2 hours. So I teach with differentiated methodology, but we assess standardized. We provide standardized assessments. That's a problem for me. And then I will also put out there that I think some of us as adults, I don't know that we could sit through a 2 or 3 hour test session for a week, well, I think it will be a challenge even for some of us. Some of us as adults, we need to move.
Yeah, absolutely.
We need to listen to music. We need to tap our fingers, but yet we require rows, silence, and drill and kill.
Gotcha.
And speaking about that, do you think that that's like what they call the prison to school pipeline, as to how prisons are set up and the structure of it, even down to the lunching? Like, what's your thoughts on that?
Absolutely, yes. There was research that suggests that prisons are built based off of third grade test scores. That's a problem if we're looking at third graders and how they test and determine that by the end of third grade, if they haven't made XYZ progress, which who determines what that looks like? You know, like I said, it's so subjective. That then it's suggested that prisons are then built off of third grade test scores. So the prison, yes, I do believe that some of our practices in school lend themselves to this pipeline. When we don't, for example, let's take some students that have individualized education programs, IEPs. In my brain, they still need to be challenged. And a challenge could look different per student. If we as teachers don't push them to their fullest potential, not to overload, but if we don't push them to their fullest potential, they'll keep going straight on through the 12th grade, uninhibited, because they're scared of some lawyer. And I get it. It's a lot of legal stuff. I totally understand. At the same time, I remember years ago explaining to someone, so you telling me he can't do nothing? Like nothing? Like pass for what? He didn't do anything. And it wasn't outside of his realm of possibility, of his ability. But I do think sometimes that some of our practices contribute to suspension. My colleagues might get on me for this. But sometimes I get it. I totally get it. Sometimes everybody needs a break sometimes. But when you go on weeks and days, I don't think we do that anymore, writ large. But now you're way behind. So who's catching the student up? Like I said, they've come up. The school district has backed off of that a lot. I think even city council passed either a resolution or a law, or it was a school district K to fifth grade. I don't think you can no longer suspend, or there's some language in there that dials back suspensions for elementary school students. But some of our practices can lend to it, and I can be humble enough to admit that we need to change some of those ways. Sometimes, and I was just thinking about this recently, sometimes we as teachers can be antagonists, and I can talk about us because I'm us, all right. But sometimes we do too much. Like, let them come in the room and sit down, before we just start yip-yapping. Like, really. And then when they get mad, then, go to the office. What, man, just shut. Like, you're doing too much. Sir, ma'am. Like, they didn't walk in the door and say good morning.
Yeah.
Like, you want the principal yelling at you when you first come in the door?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
so sometimes we are antagonists.
Not even knowing what happened
Yeah.
from where they're coming from.
Nothing.
Don't know how their night ended or how their morning
If they
started.
even had a night.
Yeah.
And those are very real life situations and circumstances. Our children, kindergarten on up, take on adult roles that they should not have to.
Absolutely. So Clarissa states, I remember those classes, sewing, cooking, and woodworking class. We need more career and technical education classes. What's your thoughts?
Agreed.
Yeah.
100%. Agreed 100. I think you would tamp down on some of the undesirable behaviors. I'm putting it in air quotes because sometimes they're just hungry. If we had these options for them, something to look forward to, in addition to the standardized English, and I'm speaking as an English teacher who loves it, but sometimes it's boring. So I try to bring my personality into the classroom to make it much more fun and exciting. But yes, I agree 100% with Clarissa's saying.
So Katrina says, what a great discussion. So many nuggets to digest, Dr. Fleming. They're giving you nods. Another contrasting position, it says some California school districts have thrown out algebra as a course because it somehow is racist. Really? And society is better off now. Oh my God, right? And so that's some of the contrasting perspective and that comes from somewhere, right? That comes from somewhere. And so we invite contrast, right?
Absolutely.
And so where do we go, because we always talk solutions. So where do we go now? You know what I'm saying? Where do we go now as a community, as a neighborhood? Shout out to North Philly. I'm from West, but where do we go as a community of educators to push our children, our young people in the right direction? Where do we go now?
Understood. So I could totally understand perhaps, re-examining some of the math that we do offer, and perhaps we should, offer more pragmatic math. I totally agree with that. King even offered a course called, I think it was financial literacy or something to that effect. Yeah. So teaching them how to do taxes. Let's go beyond talking about doing it, just do it. Let's teach them how to do taxes. Let's teach them how to pay bills. I did it when I had a seminar class last year. But where do we go from here? One, I think the community needs to understand that you have a voice. Perhaps you don't know where to go for that voice to be heard, but email your legislators. When I taught at the elementary school, I emailed them all the time. They knew my name, and somebody came back and said, oh, yeah, we know Mr. Fleming. Oh, my gosh. So, yes, get on their nerves. So emailing those legislators, going to board meetings. Thursdays is board meeting day for the School District of Philadelphia. Email the legislators in Harrisburg, City Hall, communicate with them on Twitter. They will respond back. Things like that. It matters. Come with the issue, but then also here's what I think should happen. I like the position of the show, offering solutions. I had a former principal say, we've praised the problem long enough. What should we do?
What should we do?
Because we're doing enough talking. And Harrisburg is where I would definitely begin. Find out who your representative is in Harrisburg and get them to fund our schools, period. Anything that Jalen Hurts, different other ones, should be extra. They shouldn't be contributing to what our basic needs are.
Absolutely.
We'll take, if, let's say, my podcast, okay, we'll take extra equipment. But, certain things should just be a part of the curriculum.
That's right.
It is elsewhere, and it's not, and it's just is what it is. So that's what I think should happen. Harrisburg has the money. They can do whatever you want. That you see the building all over the place, and they're not building, for free. They're getting some tax breaks in there, and I think those some of those tax breaks need to be rolled back to help our students.
Yeah, that's fantastic. This was a done. You have one more question?
One last question.
Go ahead, Spark.
We can talk to him all day.
I know. With
Likewise.
with a lot of the youth in Philadelphia that they're saying is why our crime has upticked. You know, the mob stuff and all that stuff. Do you think that parents need to be held responsible? They're thinking about like saying, "Hey, a parent now is going to have to pay a fine for their child." What do you think is the solution behind getting these kids off the streets in a mob-like way, and you know the things that they're doing?
Right. So, so one, I don't know that finding the parents is what is. They could very well be working hard themselves and may not be able to be home to necessarily supervise. So I'm not in favor of that. Two, one, I think if our students did have more work opportunities, internship opportunities, etc., that might also reduce it. Three, I'm curious to know who actually is from the city that's doing it, because anecdotally, you hear a lot of people coming from. Sadly, I'm thinking of a tragic situation that happened at Temple University a couple of years ago. These people are coming from some of them are coming from the suburbs, are coming from Jersey. So I'd be really curious to know, and I don't know if it's probably not a simple solution, but who actually is from the city that's coming and doing these flash mobs. When I was out there for 2020 in the protests, you know, we would hear the testimonies of people coming, "Why are you coming to my neighborhood to do this?" Words like that out there. So I'd be curious that. So jobs for sure. Youth working. Youth need to work. Go to work. Make your money. You stack your bread. Internships. After school programs for teens. I don't know if they'd go, but at least it'd be offered. And then two, I do believe that there is a segment of when that occurs that there's some people that aren't from our city who come and do that. I think just recently with the cars and twirling down City Hall, I think they arrested people that were not from Philadelphia. So where there's one, I have to believe that there's more. So yeah.
Thank you, Doc.
I like that. Thanks, Spark. I like that you. I like the idea of the podcast, because what that happens with the podcast, it allows them to have a voice also. So that's an outlet, right? And I think there needs to be more of that, them just venting, right? Whether they have all of the answers or not, it's them getting out, you know, that monkey off their back, so to speak, right? And so I like that. I want to just say this one thing. So Liberty, again, said, "Thanks for tolerating my comments here. I enjoy your show." And Liberty, you can talk all you want. It's all good. This is what we do, right? And the reason we allow that is because it's people like that still has a voice. Everyone has a voice. That's democracy, right? So allow someone to at least express their opinion, whether you like it or not. We all have opinions.
Agreed.
Right?
Agreed. And that's what we do in the pod, too.
There you go.
And I say
For sure.
it straight out that we welcome dissenting voices. Just because some are louder than others does not mean they're always right.
That's right.
And that they represent the majority.
There you go.
So it's the disagreements that make for excellent episodes, might I add, or excellent content. But agreed. And I think the students in my class will tell you that they feel comfortable even expressing their dissenting.
Fantastic,
views.
yeah.
You're absolutely welcome to do that.
Fantastic. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Round of applause. What an amazing interview. Spark, you had Spark talking all type of stuff. So that's cool. So one thing that we say on the show, again, once you come to the show, you're more than welcome to come back. But I want you to, one, tell everyone where they can find you, and again, amplify the youth podcast again.
Sure. So my name is Dr. Stephen Fleming. I'm mainly active on Twitter at KellyGrade6. That's the number 6, KELLYGRADE, the number 6. And my youth, my kids, my guys, my girls, we are at BEO Youth. It is the Behind the Eyes of Our Youth podcast. We're the mantra that a student came up with, where we talk about anything and everything. So it's at BEO Youth, and that is everywhere: TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I think that's it. Yeah. And we're on wherever you get your podcasts. We're out there: Apple, Spotify, etc.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Well, definitely the invitation is there. If you want to bring them, we'll give them a platform to talk a little bit. So again, thanks for the show. Thanks for coming on to the show.
Thanks for having me.
It was an absolute pleasure, and it's good to hear your voice. And one thing I do want to say, especially as it relates to the statistics and numbers of teachers in the schools, especially as it relates to black men, I think that the brother Sharif Al-Mekki is doing an excellent job in fighting against that and trying to amplify that. Come on, fellas, let's get in there. Absolutely. So shout out to Sharif Al-Mekki for his work and the things that he's doing. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in. I don't want you guys to go anywhere because we have more to come. Not only do we have another interview, we have good news and bad news, and we got some more content out there. Let's go to one of our youth that's actually doing some work out there in these streets. They're doing a lot of work and they're doing some great things. So let's go to one of my fantastic young journalists, Willow. We'll be right back at this.
Hi, I'm Willow Jordan with Youth Civic News, and I'm here with my grandfather,
Willie Jordan.
And G-Pop, what brings you out tonight?
Well, I'm here to discuss the importance of the election that's coming up, and the important responsibility that we have to do is get out to vote.
What is your role?
I wear many hats, but one is a community activist, and that means to keep people aware and make them informed on the issues of the day so they can come out and make a good choice on voting for the right candidates.
What are some of the issues you see?
Housing, education, transportation. There's a lot of things. Anything that we do in our lives has to do with elections, politicians, elected officials making those decisions. The amount of time that you stay in school and the amount of days you stay in school is based on what some elected official came up with.
How important is it to vote?
It is very important. It's not just important, it's responsible. Voting is not a selfish activity. It's a selfless. You vote to help others. So as you help others, people help you, and it'll be a better world, a better city, a better country to live in.
Where do some of your beliefs come from?
Well, my belief is based on, I would first come from my home training. My parents told me the importance of civic responsibility, caring, loving, sharing, being involved, being responsible on your actions.
Is there any positive knowledge you would give to the people who don't vote?
I would tell them if they can't come up with a reason why they should vote for themselves, come up with a reason why they should vote for someone else, for their parents, for their children, for more street lights, how they want a better community. Do it for someone else.
I'm Willow Jordan reporting from Youth Civic News, and I'm here with my grandfather, Willie Jordan.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We Talk Weeklies after the talk of WPPMP Philadelphia 106.5 FM. We Talk Weeklies after the talk of this your boy Charles Gregory with the beautiful
Classy Lady Sparkle.
and the beautiful Lady Esther. She holding it down for us. She over here. And so I think so what did y'all think about that interview? Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. He definitely he's in it, and I think that when we're asking about what's going on with our city, we need to talk to those community leaders, and teachers are community leaders.
Yeah.
The ones that are inside.
The unsung heroes. Yeah.
I was just talking to someone with whom I have a tremendous amount of respect for. We're talking and pretty much saying that it's the community that got to listen. Now we're forced to be in a situation that it is what it is now. So we forced to do what we should have been doing a long time ago, right? And so I think that's an excellent transition to just bring her up right now, right? So why don't you let us know who do we have today?
Today we have Melissa Robbins, as a civil rights leader,
Yes, she is.
political strategist, and former radio host who co-founded Northeast Philadelphia Against Racism, a U.S. Army veteran and political contributor for 6ABC. She advocates for anti-racist policies and social justice. Robbins is dedicated to empowering marginalized communities and promoting civic engagement.
That's right.
Y'all already know what to do. Give a warm We Talk Weekly welcome to Miss Melissa Robbins.
Miss Melissa Robbins, Miss Melissa.
Welcome.
See, me and Miss Melissa Robbins go way back, like Mike and Ike's and Boston Baked Beans and Chico Sticks and
Bazookas.
bazookas,
Cherry Bomb.
Definitely, she said she makes her. But I'm excited because of the work that she has been doing, and I'm for anyone who's putting in the work, who's doing the work, right? And so anybody could be running and doing politics, and I hear you, but you have to do the work, because that's the true measure of your campaign. How much work do you do for the community, for people to see what you do to vote for you, because they know you will have their best interests, right? And so with this young lady, right, she's doing the work, so kudos to you. So how are you?
I am doing well. Thank you so much for having me. This is my first time coming to We Talk Weekly.
Oh, okay, give you another round of applause for that.
Charles and I do go back, and first of all, I just want to say congratulations to you for your platform.
Yeah.
It's always good when like minds can come together
yes.
and engage, especially at this critical juncture that we're at right now in American history.
Yeah. How about that? So let's jump right into. First of all, let's give a background, because I want to walk people through your process and why you do what you do, right? So let's start from the beginning. What got you into your civic fight? Your activism, the things that you do to amplify those voices in the community. Yeah.
It felt like it was something that I was obligated to do. There wasn't any pivotal moment in my life. This is who I am and who I've always been. If people who went to high school could tell you about me, they would say, oh, she was the voice in the morning. I gave the morning announcements. They would say she ran for junior class president and won. They would say, I'm the person who would speak up. I also had the opportunity I was elected 2 girls out of every graduating class in the state of Maryland, and 2 boys are selected. Boys for Boys State, they go to the academy, to the military academy, to study American government and military. And females, we were selected to go to Girls State. And for me, that was 2 weeks at Washington College in Washington, D.C., where we study nothing but government, and then we get to run for office. And at that time, it was, my God, it was like the craziest time of my life as a teenager. My whole life was upside down, but I still managed to win Speaker of the House at 16. Anyway, and I went on to the United States military, which threw me, just me being me, I took leadership. I became platoon leader on day 1. And the discipline of the military, the structure, not to deviate from plans, get things done, be very structured, be very disciplined, that just continued for me. So once I came out of the military and started working, I looked at my world around me, and there were so many things that I saw that I was not okay with. And before you know it, there I was at Temple University, and the word was that black male teachers were getting fired from the African American Studies department. And we took to the streets, and the rest is history. It was like, what? You're firing black men professors at Temple and replacing them with white women to teach African American studies? Negative, not on our watch. That's right. So I went to a protest, and at that protest, I met Mr. Henry Nicholas, who's like an 89-year-old man. If you were to look him up, he has an amazing body of work. He led over 3 million hospital and healthcare workers around the nation. He's met every dignitary, every diplomat in the world. He ran the union 1199C for nurses and allied workers, and he said, I want you to come and work for me on Rob McCord's gubernatorial campaign, and the rest is history. Because I started to really dive deep into Philadelphia politics, our democratic city, our state, and I looked at my city. And you're going to tell me that this is the largest, most poverty-stricken city in the nation, but you don't have an exit plan?
Yeah.
You're going to tell me that I live in the most poverty-stricken city in the nation, but there's no plan.
Right.
And I'm supposed to be okay with that? So now I'm looking at the Democratic Party like, okay, what you doing?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So when I start calling out local Democrats, I became public enemy number one.
For sure.
Because I'm going to hold you accountable.
Right.
If you control the resources to access the resources, if you are the elected official, if you are sworn to craft policies that govern us every day, and you're supposed to ensure of a quality of life, you're supposed to ensure an adequate education, you're responsible for infrastructure, seniors, the environment, access to housing, healthcare, our education, and we're doing terrible.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at you. And, I like you, but that's not my job is to hold you accountable as an elected official, because your job is to serve the public. And if you have that confused with celebrity, then we have to have a conversation, because there's public service and then there's celebrity. So, don't take it personal when Melissa says, we have X amount of schools closed and we have this percentage of students matriculating to colleges and universities, and we have this percentage of our kids going into the juvenile justice pipeline. How am I wrong? How am I wrong for
This is a
asking
continuation from our last conversation.
Pretty much,
It's
yeah.
awesome.
So this is, let me just clarify something. This is not about being right or wrong, but that's why we have good versus evil. So if you can create a pipeline to prison, you can also create an academic pipeline, correct?
Correct.
So what do we need to do to establish those academic pipelines? Who are the actors? Oh, I know. We're known as the city of eds and meds.
Yeah.
No brainer. Yeah. Why are we not crafting relationships with our high schools, with colleges and universities all over Philadelphia? Why hasn't that been done?
Yeah.
The thing of it is this. Charles, if you come to me and you say, Melissa, I have a problem. Well, you came to me because you see me as a solutionist,
that's right? That's
so that
right.
means I have to sit down with you and you have to tell me more about how we arrived at your problem that we can collectively craft a solution. We take it to test. Let's see how effective it is. We come back, we tweak it. But our ultimate goal is to do what? Resolve your issue.
That's right.
But if we have the same issue for a decade, then you're pimping me. You're playing with me. You're playing with me.
I have no retort to any of that, because I'm 100% on the same page with you. The question I have, if we do know that these are the problems, and we know that certain things are happening in the city, and we know that those in leadership knows that these are the challenges and they're not fixing it, how do we then hold them accountable?
We vote.
Okay.
We vote for those who understand these are the out of the 5 issues, these are the top 3, and we have to focus on them. Yeah. And we have to focus on them with great intentionality. And we have to have plans. We have to say, within the first year, this is the first milestone. The second year, this is the second milestone. Yeah. And we give ourselves 6 months to see how much progress we've made to be able to determine the trajectory of the first year, right? If we see that we haven't made X amount of progress, then we have to reevaluate. We're going to look at our strategy. We're going to look at who are the contributors, and so we have to always be in work mode. But there has to be a commitment to change, and more importantly, there has to be a commitment to impact, right? Because we have to look at impact. How do we determine how healthy our city is? Well, we look at the most vulnerable amongst us to see how they are thriving, right? So if we're working to create change, and we see that our children haven't increased their ability to read, we see that our seniors, say, for example, their transportation to their doctor's appointments, do a survey. Do they feel like they're being picked up in a timely manner? Do they feel like they're being seen in service? We have to look at our most vulnerable citizens amongst us to determine the quality of life of our city. That's where we have to focus, where the bleeding is. If I'm a doctor and you come into my hospital and you're bleeding from a vein, or if you're bleeding from an artery, I'm going to stop the hemorrhaging to save you. So that's where you have to go to, where the hemorrhaging is.
So if we know, right, if we know that Philadelphia is a Democratic city, period, right? We know it's like 90% blue or something like that. I'm sure you had the
Those
accurate
numbers
number.
have changed.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. After that, right?
Yes.
But if we know that it's blue, and most of the people in leadership that can make those changes are blue, the assumption is they know what the problem is. So why are they not fixing that?
Well, let me just say this, right? You see, with great leadership and great responsibility, you have to have people who are disciplined. So if I tell you that I'm going to run for office because I care about you and I want to create change.
I hope you do.
Right? And I run and I win, you're going to now look at me and say, okay, it's go time, right? But if you look up and 2 to 3 years later, I've done nothing, you're going to say, you need to hold yourself accountable and step aside and allow someone to now fill that seat who's more capable than you, right?
Correct.
And I'm supposed to say, Charles, you're absolutely correct. But what happens when I say, oh, no, give me another 3 years? Mm-hmm. And then I say, no, give me another 3 years. Mm-hmm. And then I say, no, they know me. Everybody knows me. You see how this happens?
Right.
And this is what we're happening. Instead of people humbling themselves, saying, "I've been in this seat for 16 years, 12 years. It's time for me to move aside." One thing the Republicans do, they'll take a 7-year-old and sit them and say, "Fly this plane."
Yeah.
They'll say, "Fly this plane, Timmy. You've been piloting in the backyard. Come on, fly it."
Yeah.
7 years old, 14 years old. You got it. You're now the CEO. We Democrats eat our own. Eat our own.
That's heavy.
Republicans 9 times out of 10, they're homogenous.
Mm-hmm.
We're not.
So for transparency, you're a registered Democrat.
Transparency, I fluctuate between an independent and a Democrat, and the reason is we have closed primaries. You know that.
Yeah.
So in order for you to participate in the primary, you have to pick a side.
Yeah. So for those who don't truly understand what closed primacy, a closed primary is, if you're a registered, say for example, independent, and it's time to vote, you can't vote. Mm-hmm. You just can't vote if you're registered independent. So in order to address the needs, if you want to vote, say for example, Democrat, you have to switch your party and become a Democrat again. So a lot of people didn't understand that, right? And I think that's something that needs to be explained and amplified a little more.
And how do you do that? Right. How do you do that? Okay, so let me just paint a picture really quickly, right?
Right.
If I want to control you and everybody in this room, would I give you an Ivy League education?
Arguably, no. I would say no.
Why would I do that?
Yeah.
If I want to control you,
right.
Mm-hmm. Why would I educate you?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I wouldn't do that, right?
Yep.
So I'm going to go back to the drawing board. Most people do not understand civics.
That's right.
Most people don't understand there are 9 Supreme Court justices in the Supreme Court, let alone name them. Most people don't understand what checks and balances are, a balance of power. They don't know the 3 branches of government, let alone the functionality. They don't know how many seats are in Congress.
Welcome through
they
it.
just don't know these things.
Yeah.
And I'm not blaming them because if they were not educated at home, 9 times out of 10, mom and dad had multiple jobs. If mom and dad were there, we know a lot of people came up through the crack epidemic, socially engineered and economically engineered to generate the outcomes that we saw, just destroyed our community. So the thing of it is if you're not in an education system where civics is being taught, I just happen to be in a school system where they taught you everything from freaking kindergarten.
Wow.
I mean, you learned everything, So I'm fortunate in that part. And plus, I used to watch 60 Minutes as a kid. I was 6 years old watching 60 Minutes. Why? Because I wanted to know.
Yeah.
I just happened to be a curious kid. But the thing of it is there's a lot of curious kids in Philadelphia, and they cannot go into their classroom and be taught about government. Because if you teach someone about government, they're more likely than say, hey, this is something that I'm interested in. But if you keep them dumb, you keep them controlled.
So whose fault is that? If let me put this in context, right? And so if you don't teach anyone about civics, if you don't teach anyone about foreign policy, the branches of government, if you don't teach this information, right?
Yes.
How can you then turn around, say for example, what happened in this election,
Yes.
and say, how dare you vote, or how could you vote X, Y, and Z when you haven't taught anyone about the necessities of voting specifically just as it relates to civics?
I'll tell you why. Because historically, Democrats rely on a certain percentage of votes. These are people who are civically engaged. These are the people who can be controlled, right? But for those other percentage of people out there who don't know about civic engagement in government, they don't typically vote anyway. So guess what? If you can control the percentage of people who vote, you can stay in office.
Oh man, look, Morale said, look, that's truth. Like it or not, it's truth. I agree with you. And that's the thing. Like you can't get upset and blame someone who is unaware of what the initiative that you're trying to,
and just how
Yeah, for
important
sure.
voting is. And not alone, you raise a really good point. I love the fact that you're saying for the people who didn't vote, are you really mad at them for not knowing why it is important to
Exactly,
vote?
that's
Are
my
you
point.
really mad at them because you never took the time to engage them? And guess what? There is no mandate. There is no statewide mandate to teach civics in schools. Now, for my people who are out there who are researchers, there are 67 counties in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
You're talking
Out
to
of
'em.
67 counties, 59 counties were red, right?
yes,
The Democrats only won 6 counties. 2 of those 6 counties were Allegheny County and Philadelphia County. The other 4 counties, I know Delco was one county. The other 3, I don't know. But I can tell you this. 6 counties were blue. So out of those 67 counties, I challenge you researchers, do your work. Find out what school districts do they teach civics in? Because I can tell you, there's no mandate in the school district of Philadelphia to teach civics. What happens if you teach people civics? Well, guess what? These are the people who begin to run against you.
That's right. That's right. Because they know when
And
you know
then when
better, you do better.
And then when you run, it's like, how dare you? How dare you exercise this thing called a democracy? And we're in the birthplace of, the nation and the cradle of democracy in Philadelphia, where democracy was born. How dare you exercise your power and run? Just how dare you Democrat? The nerve of you.
You cooking with grease. And so, all right. So again, if that's the case, right, what do we do as a community? Like, how can we, because I was a little upset, right, that that there were people on a down ballot that was actually running that you didn't even know they were running because the all of the promotion and marketing was about president. So having discussions with people, they like, it's a down ballot? Like what is that? Who else is running? And I was a little upset that some of the people that was even running wasn't even promoting and marketing themselves, but they was marketing, and promoting president. So if that's the case and we know that this is what's going on, then how can we, at the very least, do our due diligence and flip that and say, look, you have to be honest with what's actually going on out there. Now let's teach and educate. How do we do that? Like that's the how. How do we do that?
We do it easily.
Without pointing fingers though. Right?
We do it easily.
Okay, cool.
Right? First of all, we've got to love ourselves, okay? You teach that 2-year-old not to bend over and shake her butt, but you teach her self-love, right? You teach her self-love, and she will begin to love those around her. You demonstrate love, right? How do you demonstrate love? By curling up with your child and reading a book.
Yeah.
And you do it consistently. Because if your child is reading at a young age, your child is now growing their vocabulary. Your child is now being curious, right? So you can easily begin reading books about a bill, right? And then when your kid is in elementary, and then the time goes for student government, your kid can say, Mom, can you buy me the materials to make a poster? I want to be class president, right? You sit down, you take your child on a trip to Washington, D.C. You point out the Washington Monument, you point out the Capitol, you point out the Lincoln Memorial, you point out all of these major structures and memorials and monuments in Washington, D.C. You have conversations, right? Instead of your time at the bar, go and get with your girlfriends and create a circle and have them bring their kids and have conversations about your mayor, Sherelle Parker. Talk about city council. Get together. Take a trip. Right? You take a day off of work and go with that kid to city council and understand what this legislative body is, right? Talk to your teacher. Teacher, this is something that I want. Because let me just be clear. In the suburbs, when mom has an idea, she goes to all of her little moms around the community and they go in the teacher and they said, Teacher Miranda, this is what we want. And they get it done.
Yeah.
And they get it done. So if we want change, then we've got to change. We've got to change some of our habits. Instead of saying, girl, meet me at the bar, girl, meet me at the library. Girl, meet me at the community center.
I know that's right.
How about change the way you operate, parents and community members, to generate the outcomes that you need? Because we're all going to be silver and gray, God willing, and we need those children informed and empowered to guide us. We have to invest. People talk about harvest, right? Well, if you're going to repeat what you heard other people say, then understand what it means to seed plant. It doesn't mean to run out at the last hour and scatter seeds about. It means you start at the beginning of the season and you meticulously plant your seeds. So when harvest time comes, it is healthy. And what does that look like, Democratic Party? Plant your seeds. Teach your young, empower your young. Don't stand in the way. It can't be older people against younger people. It has to be an intergenerational effort all the time. There has to be a transition of power. If I'm spending time with my mother in the kitchen, I'm learning, I'm picking up, so that when she can no longer stand up in the kitchen, she can sit down and I can take over. Same thing. Same thing. Teach your young. And don't teach your young to cuss, drink, roll blunts, and shake their butts. Teach them things that's going to carry the next generation. Teach them things that's going to be legacy that you want to be proud of. I get the crack cocaine epidemic destroyed us. But my God, look at sister such and such that's older over here. If you don't have your auntie, if you don't have your big mom, somebody got one.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard.
A service is hard. Life can be a challenge, and challenges are made to overcome.
That's right.
We cannot accept excuses. Why? Because we came from a hand that could not accept excuses. The shoulders that we stand on are shoulders that bled.
That's right.
They're shoulders that were scarred, tarred, burned. So we cannot have any excuses. None whatsoever. None.
Yeah. So to that point, right? We after this election or post-election, you have tons of people that's feeling defeated, right?
I don't know why.
Okay.
Maybe they know something that I don't.
Okay. So expand.
Defeated.
Yeah. They're feeling hurt. They're feeling like some of their people let them down for voting a certain type of way. They're feeling that their voice isn't heard, or they don't feel protected because of their basic quote unquote fundamental rights. They're feeling this way, and this is the conversation that's happening in the community. And so more specifically with our women of colors, our sisters of color. And so what would you tell those who look like you to not feel defeated or feel like, the world is coming to an end, so to speak, but
I'm sorry about my facial expression.
No, I like that.
I am so sorry. But y'all know I don't even have a poker face. I just got myself black.
I know, and I appreciate that. This is We Talk Weekly. We keep it a buck right here, right? And so but there is some merit to people feeling or expressing that they're feeling a certain type of way, especially if that has been the narrative has been, it's time to express yourself. It's time to let your voice be heard. So if you're feeling, allowing a safe space for people to feel a certain type of way. So there is merit for, someone to say, okay, this is the issue that I have. However, not even however, that being said, what would you say to those who a friend that you might bump into that may be, say, for example, from the Democratic Party that is a hard Democrat? What would you tell her, a sister that's feeling this way?
Well, first of all, I just want to say people have the right to feel the way that they feel. Right. I'm not going to invalidate anyone's feelings. Right. And surely I'm not going to tell you how you should express yourself. That's on you. However, okay, who is surprised that 55% of white women did what they always do? Who is surprised of the Latino vote that went Republican? We always knew how Latinos voted. Yeah. Who's surprised that Asians were responsible for the overturning of affirmative action? Who's running around saying black and brown? Let's be clear. If we're going to tell the truth, I've never heard Jewish people advocate for anyone other than Jewish people. Yeah. Have you? Mm-hmm. Okay? Yeah, I haven't heard that, right? I'm not mad at them, right? Mm-hmm. Take care of your own, right? Yeah, so I'm going to say to you, the sisters who have a problem with what has happened, right? Yes, 20% of black men did vote for Trump. But don't just throw brothers under the bus. That's only 20%.
Hold on one second. Say that one more time. Don't just do what?
No, I'm say what I mean and mean what I say.
Okay.
Do not, under any circumstances, throw your black men under the bus, because let the numbers be told. 20% of black men voted for Trump, right? Mm-hmm. That's on them. Yeah. I hope they get what they wanted. Yeah. But for the other 80% of black men who were 10 toes down, don't give them problems. Mm-hmm. For what? Yeah. We need each other.
That's right.
More than ever. So I'm going to say to the sisters who are feeling some type of way, look within. Ask yourself, how have you treated other black women in the Democratic Party? Mm. Were you their sister? Mm-hmm. Were you honest? Were you forthcoming? Did you extend the olive branch? Were you one of those sisters running around with your nose in the air, looking down your nose at other sisters because you are of a certain pedigree? Or because you are of a certain earning status, and that sister may have not had the shake that you had, and she got some kids and she got 2 or 3 jobs and she expresses herself different. Did you extend yourself to that sister, or did you judge? Right? The same sister who could have been voting, who probably said, I'm not dealing with them because of the way she's treated. What I'm saying to you is this: we have got to look at ourselves and ask ourselves honestly, how do we treat one another? Yeah. How do we treat one another? Because at the end of the day, I don't know if I'm going to need you, if you're going to need me. Right. But if I'm running around thinking that I am, the stuff because I dine at this exclusive restaurant or dine at this exclusive restaurant and you don't, somehow or another, I'm better than you. The elitist attitude within the black community must stop.
I agree with that. So that said, right?
That's problematic. Yeah. And that happens because that's where the separation is when it comes to politics. You have this group of people who are elitists in politics, and they're in echo chambers. So this is what happened in Kamala Harris's race. People were in echo chambers. I held a nonpartisan town hall in the Northeast. I invited any and everybody. Republicans showed up, Democratic showed up. I don't care. Mm-hmm. I don't care. This is the conversation. Right. Let's talk about why this person or this person is best, right? Give this person a chance to talk, whether you agree with them or not. Give this person a chance. At least you'll be respected if they say, well, we didn't agree, but they did welcome me in the room. Right. You'll be respected. At least you're opening up, or you're trying to build bridges. But when you're just like, I don't want to hear anything that you have to say, you're wrong, I'm only listening to those people, then you will be blindsided by a red wave.
Yeah.
You will be, right? And then the Democratic Party brought people from other states into our neighborhoods knocking doors. Would you rather open your door and see your neighbor or some stranger from New York or West Virginia?
I want my neighbor. Yeah.
So strategy. Who were the strategists, right? Who were the people on Kamala's team, right? Yeah. Did we put ego before experience or experience before ego? What happened? Yeah. Who? I'm going to tell you something that did not happen. I said, about 30 people just ran for city council at large, correct?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So between the 30
Who knew
peop-
that?
Right? About 30, all right, about 31. So out of all these people, Charles, think about this, right? How many votes did each person get? Whether you won or whether you lost, collectively, how many votes did each person get? So if I am running the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and I know that my largest vote is coming out of the city of Philadelphia, I'm thinking strategy. I'm going to every last one of those people who just ran for office, and we're going to have a conversation about the messaging that you used to get the votes.
That's right. That's right.
Did that happen? I've worked on races for how long? How long have you known me to work on political campaigns? How long have you known me to take to the streets and fight for black people and be criticized doing so?
Since
Why wasn't I working on the Kamala Harris campaign?
Wow.
Exactly. People were calling me left and right.
Wow.
No, I couldn't even get a job on the Kamala Harris campaign. But I had people calling me from other states right here in Philadelphia saying, "Oh, hey, Melissa, can I sit down and pick your brain? This brain gonna cost you."
I know that's right.
That's what you call intellectual property. But you want to take me to coffee and pick my brain to teach you how to do your job.
That's right.
Something that I've been doing for years.
Yeah.
Before Trump came, I'm talking about before 2016, when you probably saw only one black woman in the room, but all white men in politics here in this state. So all I'm saying is to you, I saw this coming a long time ago. People got too comfortable with just saying things to you and expecting you just to go and vote. They didn't think people would push back.
Wow.
Now we got to work, right?
Yeah, we got to do the work.
Now we really got to work.
So that's a great transition, because I was going to say, now that we're in the position that we're in, right? What do we do now? How do we craft this? Because I keep saying we need a project 2029. Right, 'cause that's the next president, right? So what do we do now? Now that we know we're in a position that we're in, how do we strategize, or what should we do now? What would be the next move?
We look at the next upcoming races, right? If we're smart, right? We look at the next upcoming races. The next upcoming races is controller, district attorney.
What does the controller do, real quick, for those? Go ahead.
Thank you.
Yes.
So the controller is the person who is responsible for being the watchdog, the fiscal watchdog.
That's
Whenever
right.
you hear the word fiscal, it means money. It means finance. So the controller is the city of Philadelphia's fiscal watchdog over all city agencies to assure that the budgets are being run smoothly, to make sure all dollars are reconciled, to make sure that we're not wasting your money, taxpayers, to make sure that the money is being invested into this agency to give you the outcome that you want. Case in point, streets department, right?
That's right.
That's a budget,
Come on,
right?
come on.
You maintaining our streets, right? Think about it.
That's right.
Sanitation department. Are you picking up trash in a timely manner? How many people do you have in this department, right? What's the budget? Is it being run efficiently, right? So that's what the city controller does. So that raises up judicial races. We're talking about municipal court. We're talking about court of common pleas.
That's right.
All of these courts, attorneys will be running to become judges, and judges will be running for retention. Judges get retained every 10 years. So some of the same people who your family members are going to go in front of to be sentenced or judged, you better understand this. You better find out who's running, and you better find out who they are.
27. That's 2027, correct?
No, that is look, there's an election every 6 months.
Every 6 months, yeah.
Every six months there's an election.
Yeah.
So this upcoming May,
Okay.
you will be voting for.
So that's okay. So that's where I want to. Okay, so I want to sit on that for a second, because you're definitely on a roll, and I think that a lot of people they don't promote and endorse these races and these elections.
Why?
That's the question.
The less you know what? Say it with me.
Yeah. Wow.
Say it with me. The less you know, the easier you can be controlled.
Absolutely.
If I dangle a carrot and my carrot is Kanye, if my carrot is Kim, if my carrot is Sexy Red, my carrot is Cardi B, then you will never ever look over here to see what I'm actually doing to you. Right? If I tell you to look at Instagram most of the day, and you're out here trying to do everything, and you're renting cars, you're doing Airbnbs, you're never preparing for your future.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm distracting you. Your whole world is in that phone. But you're not thinking about investing in property. You're not thinking about building up your business. You're not thinking about your child's schooling. You're not thinking about your retirement plans.
Yeah.
You're not thinking about any of those because I'm distracting you. And from time to time, I may manufacture something to really get your attention. And you'll never know.
So I didn't mean to stop you there because you was talking about, the elections that's coming up. But I want you to continue that. But I just thought it was important because there's a lot of people who just don't know.
I know. And that's why I do the work that I do.
Yeah, for sure.
Because what if I didn't know? I don't know what I don't know, but what I do know, I share. And don't be pissed off at me because I want to empower people.
Yeah.
I'm not threatened by someone who's smart. I don't want to be the most intelligent person in the room. Quite frankly, I'd rather be surrounded by
There you
high
go.
functioning intellects, and I'm constantly asking them questions because I then walk out of that room so empowered, right? So I want to share information. I want to teach. I don't have to be number one in the room. I'm just one of the many lights. And this is the thing. People are threatened by your light. But how can you be threatened by someone's light? Because the more lights that you have in a room, the more illuminated that room is.
Right.
Why would you not want tons of bright lights in the room? How could I be threatened by your light?
Yeah.
How could I? God equipped you just the way he intended. Just like he equipped her, and me. We are all pre-purposed. If you focus on you and if you stay in your lane, you really don't have time to focus on other people.
That's right.
But if you're focused on other people all the time, you never get to live in your full purpose because you are now everywhere else except for right here where you're supposed to be at. So just focus. When the little girl said, it's a little meme, the little girl said, worry about yourself.
Worry about yourself. Yes, I saw that.
Wow.
Worry about yourself.
So, I mean, there's nothing else to say because literally you gave a civics lesson in, I know I give a
No, but there's so much more.
I got you.
There's so much more. God knows.
I'm being facetious.
God
but
knows.
Because first of all, Tom flew that. You got to promise to come back.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I do have a question.
Please do.
How did the military, you have so much, a plethora of
Yes.
experience. How did the military help
get
shape
into
you
this.
or even what you brought to them?
That's a good question because I'll tell you what I brought to the military. I brought to the military discipline, defiance, and strength. I'm the youngest of 11. So you don't grow up in a household full of people and not find some footing and find your own voice. So I brought a whole lot of courage, a whole lot of confidence, and a lot of strength. What did I take away? I took away discipline. I took away structure. I took away this fortitude to meet my goals. This level of fearlessness that I have. People are just like, oh my God, Republicans have the White House and the Senate and the House and the Supreme Court. And then the day after the election, the letter goes out to all the black colleges. You've been selected to pick cotton. Well, there's
my
something
gosh,
that
yeah.
you should know for the people who think just because white supremacy is about to reign supreme, we ain't scared. I don't know who you think we are, the black people of today, but we stand with our back straight. And I mean straight. No, if you think that we're going to respond to your indignant words and messages, actions, whatever it is that you think you're going to launch against us, you are sadly mistaken about who you think we are as black people in this country.
No, that's right.
Excellent.
Anything else?
Excellent. No, I'm taking notes.
Yeah, and the thing of it is this. We're not, contrary to popular belief, we're not violent people.
Exactly.
We are really not violent people. And another thing you need to really think about this, right? 55% of white women voted for Trump. Who are the other 45%? Where are they at?
That's right.
Those are your allies. Those are the people who help construct and build the NAACPs. Those
That's
are the
right.
people who were supporting Dr. King. So it's another thing, differentiating. These white women clearly went with Trump last
right.
time
That's
and did
right.
it again, right? But who are these other white women? And who are these white men? Who are the people who stand with us? Who are our allies?
But do you think that the Democratic Party is not the generation that it once was at one time?
God, no.
There, at one time, it felt like the Democratic Party was at a more conservative. It feels like they've gone more left to me.
Well,
liberal.
this is the thing. I'm going to say this, right? And if it offends you, then you're just offended, because understand this. There comes a point in time when you try to correct. I'm only speaking for Melissa. I'm not speaking for no one else. But if you try to correct me and remind me that I need to address a person, they or them, I'm looking at you like you're crazy. Because I'm not remembering it. And don't get mad at me and tell me that there's something wrong with me because I can't remember that you want to be addressed as they or them. Because the math ain't mathing. Okay, that is when you see, for example, when you see transgender men and women dancing in front of kids, I've actually seen that. Like, what are you doing? Why are you having like sexual acts in front of children? And how is this being condoned? Look, I don't care who
Heterosexual shouldn't even perform those.
I don't
type of
care
acts.
what your
Yes.
sexual orientation is. I don't care how you identify, what gender. That's, again, your business. But when you bring it into the space of a child, now you have my attention. Because I'm trying to figure out how do the two mix. They don't. They don't. So you have some people who are Republicans who are fearful. They just don't know.
Right.
And you can't deny them their feelings.
Yeah. And I want to put that in context in that you're a mother of 4 beautiful children.
I am, and I'm going to tell you something. So I'll tell you about an incident that happened one day, and I said, "Oh my God!" So I was in Atlanta. I lived in Atlanta for a couple of years, and I was in a store one day, and
Someone said, "You're the truth."
Listen, this actually happened.
Yeah.
My son at the time was about 6. And just out of nowhere, I didn't have any screaming kids. He started screaming at the top of his lungs. So I'm looking like, who's doing something to my son? Let me see what's going on. I'm at the checkout counter. I turn around. I grab him. I'm like, what's wrong? He's screeching, "Mommy." I'm like, what? There's a man with a mustache and red lipstick and a skirt screaming. Now, I'm a mom.
Right.
I'm looking at the fear in my child's face.
Yeah.
He was terrified. And I just had to drop my stuff, take the kids, and walk out. And I had to sit and explain to him that some people live their lives in different ways and they make different decisions for themselves. He was crying, right? This is mother to child, right? People don't understand these things really happen.
Yeah.
They really, really do. So I had to explain to him. So what I'm saying is we're living in a world that's changing at a rapid pace, right? Now, people, these are things that people don't want to say, right? They think it, but they don't want to say it. I come from a family, I have a couple of siblings that are gay. My brother just passed away on November 4th. He was gay, right? So the thing of it is and me and him had these conversations. A lot of people who are Republicans, they're seeing change. That they're just like, no. They're like, no. This is too far gone. So to your point, the Democratic Party that we once knew is not the Democratic Party of today. Because what happened is it was a big mishmash. We're looking at a big mishmash, right? We're looking at different groups of people who make up the Democratic Party all being smushed together, not understanding that this group has their interests. This group has their interests. You know what I'm saying? You have older black people who are conservative. You have younger black people. You have white people who are just, liberal, progressives. Then you have LGBTQ community. Then you have trans community. You have all of these people who just come together and make up the Democratic Party and rarely talk about what issues matter to them and what issues are impacting their household. Where's the lie? Because the life of a liberal or progressive white woman is clearly not the life of a black woman.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And think about it. You might have a black woman who is, she's one of the Divine Nine and she's educated. Then you might have a black woman who spent her whole life on the block. right? What do they have in common? They probably never talk to each other,
right.
but they probably at some point in time will have a similar experience in life,
As
but
well,
have
yeah.
different responses based on, you know what I'm
Mother
saying?
got cancer, went into a nursing home, whatever, as a caregiver, but something there is going to be a similarity.
They're going to cross paths,
Yes.
right? They're going to end up in the same waiting room or the same waiting space and look at each other, not knowing that they're currently having the same experience, but they're going to respond differently based on access to resources. But they're both Democrats, and they're both told to do the same thing for the same reason.
Can
Go ahead. No,
can
go
you
ahead.
run?
Oh,
Can we just have you?
Well, let me just tell you something really quick. I ran
great
for office in
Yeah.
2019, and I was so much of a threat, I learned something. I
Mm-hmm.
learned that when you go and turn in your signatures, that's one thing. But then you have to go to this one office called the records office,
records,
and you
yeah.
have to turn in your personal financial statement.
Mm-hmm.
They changed the times. I must have been so much of a threat when they saw me coming. What I learned is they have a camera to see who's coming down the hall. When I came down the hall, they closed the door and said that they were locked. So that bumped me off the ballot for 2019. I ran again in 2023. Just before the election, 2 months before the election, I had a surgery on my knee. So people saw me on the campaign trail on what? Crutches. They'll tell you.
Yeah.
They'll tell you. But I still managed to get close to 30,000 votes.
That's right.
And only spent $15,000.
And I support it every time.
Right?
Yep.
So the thing of it is this. Why? All right. This is riddle me this. Why does it cost so much money to run for office just to serve people? Think about if we had campaign finance reform and everybody was given the same amount. Everybody said, okay, you raise X amount of dollars and the city matches it, and that's it, right?
So real quick, excellent. So real quick, right? Because I agree. I always said that if everyone's had the same amount of money, then you need to be witty and savvy about how you're going to run your marketing campaign to promote your candidacy to the people.
Things
right?
would change.
Things would totally change.
Oh, yeah, they would.
So the question that I have to you, real quickly, is for those who don't know, what does that money go to? Since you have to raise so much money, right? What is that money for those who don't know you?
Oh, so people, if you're wondering why when you're running for public office you have to have so much money, one, think about all of the polling locations.
Hold on 1 second. Leslie said, "Run for president." That's funny.
If it is God's will, I will be your Secretary of State and make sure I mend relationships all around the world. Starting with Vladimir Putin. You can't mend that relationship. That man's crazy. Anyway, but this is the thing. Why do you need so much money? One, there are so many polling locations around the city of Philadelphia. You have to have coverage on election day. What the city does is we have 66 wards. Of this, okay, hear me. This is the most important thing I'll tell you.
I want you to
We got 66 wards. Out of the 66 wards, 3 of them have A and B. That is 35 down in South Philly. You have A and B. It's 40 out in Southwest, A and B, and it's 66 in Northeast, A and B. That makes collectively 69. It's really 66, but 3 are A and B, so you have 69. Each ward has a ward leader, right? In order to get, now I'm going to tell you something that's true. People are going to be mad at me, but you need to know the truth. If you want to get into that ward to talk to the committee people, you've got to pay each ward leader to go into the ward and present your candidacy to their ward and the committee people.
You have to pay them.
You heard what I said. Now, if the leadership of the Democratic Party doesn't like you, you're not getting access to the ward. So this democracy ain't a democracy, okay? It's not a it's kind of like, it's kind of authoritarian, right? Because whoever's in charge, whoever controls it, controls the ward leaders.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah.
You need money for commercials to be on TV. You need money for commercials to be on radio. You need money for literature. It has to be designed. It has to be printed. You want T-shirts. You have to pay people to knock doors for you and promote your candidacy. You have to pay people to make phone calls and phone bank for you. You have to pay people to text for you. You also have to pay ward leaders on election day to be on their ballot. You also have to go in front of city committee and have a ward leader escort you and say why you're worthy. So 9 times out of 10, the people who are going to vote for you never really get to see you. Why? Because how do they even know you're running? How do they know you're running? How do they even know that you're running? Unless you use a social media campaign. But then again, you got to pay somebody for social media. You have to design your website. Got to do all this. Do you understand what I'm trying to? And first of all, you got to pay people. You got to get on the ballot. So if you're running for city council at large, you have to have at minimum 1,000 signatures. So if you're a smart thinking person, you come with 5,000 signatures. But if they don't like you, they're going to contest your signatures. So that's going to cost you a good $3,500 to get an attorney. Oh my God! Oh yes. You have to pay an attorney. So when you're supposed to be out there, promoting your candidacy, no, you're counting signatures to get on the ballot.
Unbelievable.
That's how it goes.
Ladies and gentlemen. So listen. So hold on, because I need you on record. You promised to come back?
I do.
She's on record. Y'all heard, ladies and gentlemen, y'all heard that, right? We got on record. So one thing we always say, but you already know. Once you come to the show, you're a friend to the show, so you're always welcome to come back. But you just let me know when you come back. Pretty much.
Yeah. But I say to your listeners, be empowered, be encouraged, don't give up, know your power. If you knew your power, which you should be learning by now, you believe in yourself and know that you're capable of doing anything that you desire. First, start by building community. That means making amends with your neighbors, making amends with your family, because the time is now. We need each other, and you will see it increasingly. We actually need each other.
That's right.
We're
talking about community now. We need each other.
Community. We need each other.
We need each other. How can I get in contact with you and find you and all that good stuff? Yeah.
Okay. Full transparency. I have not been on social media for a year and a half. Why? Because I kind of like my peace.
Yeah.
But I'm on Instagram as my handle on Instagram is this golden fro, at this golden fro. I'm going to go back to social media. I have to. It is at this golden fro. Usually I wear.
You see where the name? You see the name? There you go.
But my name is Melissa Robbins. I'm easily found on Facebook and periodically on 6ABC at least once or twice a month. You'll see me on Sunday at 11:30 on Inside Story, talking local, state, national, and international politics, which I love to do. But yeah, that's my information. Melissa Robbins. Facebook, Melissa Robbins. Instagram, this golden fro. I'm about to delete my Twitter account because I cannot deal with Elon Musk.
Okay.
So I'm just going to delete my account from Twitter. There's no need to even support him.
Okay. No doubt.
And my email address, just in case you need support or help, because people hit me up all the time. My email address is relatively easy. It is Melissa, MELISSA, for the people, all spelled out, at gmail.com. That's super easy. Melissa for the people at gmail.com.
Listen, and she has always been for the people. 100%. You already know how we play here. We talk weekly. Look, if you for the people and you doing the work, we support you 100%. We want you in those communities. We want you to be doing the work for those people who need you, right? And we're going to hold you accountable for that. And it's simply, I don't care who you are, what party you're affiliated with. If I go out in them streets and I see you helping the community, I'm riding with you.
Yeah.
This sister right here, she's 100% has been for the people, who has been doing the work, who has been rumbling for as long as I've known her. And I can vouch for that. Like, literally, I can vouch for that. And I want to give you your flowers now for doing that.
So
and I
sweet.
appreciate you for
I'll be
doing
running
that.
again to answer your question, wherever God sends me, but you can expect to see me. I will be running for office again. And when I run, I'm going to reach my arm up and pull other little young women up with me.
That's right.
Thank you for having me.
No, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. When we come back, we finally got some good news and bad. I mean,
Are we still doing the good news and bad news?
we got to do the good news and bad news.
Cool.
We got to do the good news and bad news. So we're going to go to one of our little young journalists out there. It's going to show you how to prepare something. I love my little young journalists. Don't go nowhere. We'll be right back, y'all. Holla.
News, reporter Ella presents a new recipe that can help feed the community. Over to you, Ella.
Thanks, Willow. Now that fall is upon us, what's not a better way to start the fall season than an easy and simple recipe? Pumpkin bread is the most delicious and easiest food you can make for yourself, family and friends, and your community. Take a look. Today we're going to make pumpkin bread, so make sure you screenshot this recipe and let's get started. First, preheat your oven to 350 degrees. In one of your bowls, mix your flour, baking soda, baking powder, salt, and pumpkin pie spice. With your fork, mix. Now with your second bowl, mix your sugar, oil, and applesauce with a whisk. Once everything is mixed together, add your pumpkin and mix again. When everything is mixed evenly, combine both mixtures together. Make sure you scrape everything out so nothing is wasted. Now mix evenly until there's no lumps. After that, you want to set that aside and grab your bread pan. Lather some butter all around and add a little flour and spread it around until it looks like this. Now you want to pour the bread batter into the bread pan. Make sure you scrape everything out so nothing is wasted. Cut a line in the middle and it's ready for the oven. Make sure you wear oven mitts and let the bread bake for 60 minutes. Once the 60 minutes is up, take it out of the oven and let it sit for a few minutes. When the bread pan is safe to touch, use a straight edge to separate the pan and bread. This step is optional, but if you would like, slice the bread into thick slices and it should look something like this. You are all done. Dig in and enjoy your pumpkin bread. This pumpkin bread is the perfect way to feed your family, friends, and your community. Willow, what did you think about this recipe?
I think that this recipe is perfect for the rising fall weather. Substituting the egg with the applesauce is a great option for others with an egg allergy.
Thanks, Willow. I'm Ella Guanzon reporting for Youth Civic News. Back to you, Willow.
We talk weeklies after the talk, yeah, right. Our little young journalists doing what they do best, man. Very proud of them. And you know, if any of our young folks out there is doing some work, and you know you're in the community and you record it, send it to We Talk Weekly. We'll make sure that we put it up because we like for you to be out there, and any other journalists that if you're doing some work out there and want us to amplify that message, email it to us, wetalkweekly@gmail.com, and we'll make sure that we amplify the message because we want to know what's going on in your community. So make sure you send us the information so we can keep abreast. So with that said, Classy lady, ready for me?
I'm ready. Classy lady. All right. Well, we had some guests today that even talked about what Philly is doing and where the money is going.
That's right.
So Philly is taking some bold steps towards sustainability. Philadelphia's waste management has been upgraded. The recycling facility just received $40 million makeover. 40 mil.
That's a lot.
The new state-of-the-art facility can now process up to 192,000 tons of recyclable annually. So this includes their bottles, jars, cans, and papers from home or business. Now, again, we're talking about the new waste management where all of your landfill stuff go. These jobs used to be done by humans, but now AI has been implemented in this. Mayor Sherelle Parker celebrated the milestone, saying, "I'm so happy that we have great partners to work with." So now, as I mentioned, AI has been incorporated to enhance the recycling process. Artificial intelligence identifies and it separates the material more accurately and efficiently. This is down to sorting the different types of plastic, paper, and other materials to ensure higher quality of recyclable goods while reducing waste. So if you can think about a conveyor belt, there was a time where the person would be on the one side of the conveyor belt, and then the human person would be sorting out the different plastics. Well, those jobs are no longer. AI is doing it. To lean to AI a little bit more because it's a computer, they know what kind. It's different types of plastic, so they know which ones that they're pulling from. But it's less jobs.
So what I want to say about that too is I don't want you guys to fret about AI because AI can't technically run itself. They need someone to develop and do prompts and to manage that. So those are particular jobs that will be opening up. So you might want to think that way.
But there was, let's just say 8 jobs.
Yeah.
Now it's only 4.
Yeah.
Someone running the AI, someone, you know what I mean?
No,
so
for sure,
there's still a deficit with the amount of people that they now, even like with the grocery store, you bagging your own stuff.
Yeah.
There's somebody running that, but now they took off 4 cash registers.
Yeah.
Oh
So,
yeah, right.
You know what I'm saying? So,
There's so many now at the
my
grocery
gosh.
store.
but it turns me off because if I go big shopping, I don't feel like bagging.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then now you don't even get a bag.
But I heard you you can only do for those self ones, you can only do but so like you can't do like more than like 20
And
items
some-
or
So
something like
yeah,
that.
so some of them they'll have signs like 10 10 items or less.
Yeah.
But some of the supermarkets are getting the same, like the big conveyor belt, like how BJ's and and Costco's have. So it's still like an aisle you will walk down with even with the belt that runs, but you're doing it yourself, and that's if you do have a large order. So it's not just the small ones.
Interesting.
Yeah, they're putting more of those in.
I mean, that's jobs that are going to more robots.
I forget what store I was in, and I was like, I had all the stuff on the belt, and I realized it wasn't a person. And they was like, "Oh, you gotta hit the button." It was
Yeah.
I had to hit the button myself to make the belt.
Hold
go.
on, wait. I just got that. Wait.
Yeah.
So how interesting.
When you in these stores, supermarket, Target, well, they don't really have no more. But yeah, where you put all your stuff on the belt, and the person brings
the
it down to
conveyor belt.
them as they're scanning it.
You gotta do
It's
it.
an aisle it's a lane that looks just like that, but it's still check yourself out.
Oh wow. That's
But when you have bigger items,
Yeah.
I just thought it was one of those moments. You know how they walk away for a minute and come back.
Right.
I just thought nobody was, because the light was on saying it was open. I just like, oh, where'd the person go?
No, you working there for
You work. Yeah, I was working there for about 10 minutes.
bagging in
Yeah.
and scanning. All right. Well, the next story has everyone with the election and everything, and a lot of the things that are now being put to a stop. New York has been affected. The mayor of New York City stops the immigrant food voucher program. All right, so let's first discuss why this program started. Migrant families that are staying in a city-funded hotel were pretty much given prepackaged meals provided by the city. Many of those meals went to waste because of cultural and dietary preferences. So they were spending a lot of money, and then they were seeing that the families were wasting it. The city decided to give the family prepaid debit cards to give the family their choice of choosing their own groceries and baby supplies. City officials estimated that this cost less than the previous way that they were doing the boxed meals, that they were doing the delivery system. Now, for this program, there was $3.2 million allocated for this program. Guess how much families were getting per week? $350. These are the undocumented immigrants that were in New York City. So $350 per week was put on a prepaid debit card, according to reporters. The financial tech company called Mobility Capital Finance that managed the program, they were under a 1-year emergency contract, and they got $400,000 to administer the service.
Interesting.
Yeah, so, and people, not just New Yorkers, it was so many people who, and we talk about the black and brown community as the, disproportionate and the, underserved. They were getting nothing. These are people who were like, hey, I've been here. I don't have a job.
That's where
y'all are undocumented immigrants, and y'all getting like $1,500 a month for nothing.
That's the challenge I have. The challenge I have is not that they were getting that, right? The challenge I have is that there's other people who need support and services like that that's not getting that. Okay. But you're giving someone who we are giving amnesty to. I get it. We supposed to be a safe haven for the community. I get it. We supposed to make sure that we allow people to be, the home of the free, the land of the brave, something like that. I forgot the saying. But are you saying that people who haven't even paid taxes and a debt in our communities, you're saying that they are the only ones that's able to get that, in the people who have been in our communities every day? You're saying that they have to starve and be unhoused and all that?
On top of
that's crazy to me.
They were staying in a 4-star hotel.
That's why I
for
use unhoused.
free.
Yep, 100%.
They were staying in a 4-star hotel for free and getting the $350 per week.
Yeah. I have a big problem with that.
And free shuttle, free
yep.
logistics.
It's the problem for me is we every day, even when we walk out of here in Philadelphia, we see so many unhoused people. We see, I mean, people are struggling just to pay rent. Like I just heard that rent alone, it's like $1,200 for rent starting.
I thought it was like 15. Oh, well,
Yes,
yeah. It's high.
It's high. I remember rent being $500 to
and
$700.
yeah.
You talking about
You going
double
too
that now,
far
right?
back.
Yeah. So when you talk about people not even having a house, right, or a place to stay, let alone just food for a minute. We had a friend of ours. It was a problem getting, what was it? Isomil or Similac. What was they getting? Stacey?
Oh yeah.
It,
When they couldn't get the
It was
formula.
it was formula.
it's formula
It was
for
formula.
kids.
Yeah.
I forget which one it was, but yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
my sister had the same issue with my nephew.
It's crazy.
Had his daughter. Everybody was like
That was
asking
around, the pandemic,
around,
right?
yeah,
I
trying to
remember
see if
you-
we can get
yeah.
it. It was
Yeah.
hard.
So when you talk about supporting the needs like that for people, and there's people here
Yep.
that in New, I'm gonna talk New York specifically.
And New York don't have those rent prices.
Yeah,
just
but-
FYI.
yeah, of course, yeah.
They're more of like Philly. I'm saying it's
Yeah.
even higher.
In New York,
Yes.
yeah, it's higher in New
and
York.
you get in a
yeah.
bathroom.
Crazy. So
size.
when you are struggling like that and you're giving access to people who are not even technically citizens yet, to even do that sounds a little like. But I don't want to point fingers. I'm saying my only point is if you're going to do that to one, you have to do it to the other. Period. It's no question. Not that you shouldn't do it for citizens that's coming in.
But it's
the
take
US,
care of
but-
your own home.
Yeah,
How
period.
you gonna
Yeah.
go cut somebody else's lawn and your lawn is like overgrown
That's
and your
right.
kids
You
is
get the
getting
whole-
bit by
take care of
a
home
snake? Yeah.
first.
That's right,
You gotta,
that's right.
yeah.
But
yeah.
America think we own the world.
Right.
Leslie said she lived in Texas. She said it's 1905 in her city
Wow.
for rent. It's crazy.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's
And remember, you guys remember that I purchased a investment property, and I had, and I remember with their,
Had to go
I
up.
had tenants that already lived there, and so I was acquiring their leases, and the bank, because all the information had to get turned over, once the sale is happening, the bank saw the leases as well from the previous owner, and sent me a ton of information of other properties in the same area with the
market
same
price.
specs, what the market price was, and they told me it was a requirement. I had to raise their rent.
Mandatory. Wow.
Their rent had to be up
Where
within a
market
certain
price
range.
is.
Yeah, has to
Yeah.
be.
Wow.
It had to be.
And I can agree. I can understand that because even like with on the flip side, let's just say someone's overcharging for gas. Now
Yeah.
your gas gouging. So you have to be within market price. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, last week the mayor announced that the city had decided to not renew the program, and it's now ended. They did say that the mayor talked to President Trump elect, but the mayor's not saying what that conversation was about. The end of the program means migrant families may face more challenges getting food to fit their needs, but the city says they're working on a new competitive contract for migrant worker services, but no details have been released. But local nonprofits and community organizations are playing a bigger role in filling in the gap. So they are, coming in and giving their assistance, which why didn't they do that in the beginning?
I hear you. Yeah. See, and that's the thing. You can't blame the migrants. They're trying to come for the to be part of America.
Land of the
the
free,
land
yeah,
of the free,
yeah.
right? So you can't blame them, right? They're
They're
doing
trying to have a better life
They're
for
trying to have
themselves
an
and their
American
families,
dream,
yeah.
exactly. So you can't blame them. It shows the disconnect. With
Can
our
we have an
government.
American dream?
I'm just saying, how about that, right?
You an American?
Can we get it first?
I know, right? Please.
If that's what y'all call handing out the American dream.
Yeah, right. It's one of those things. Man. Wow.
She said you already here. You don't need it.
Well, you an American. Do you have it?
The American dream.
Yeah.
I'm living the dream every day.
All right. This next story, last story.
Right here with y'all.
There's a video going viral of a young woman named, I hope I don't butcher her name, but it's Hannah Rawati Mapi Clark. She's a Maori representative chanting with a haka protest at a parliament to protest the indigenous treaty bill. You want to play the video now?
Yeah, let's play this. Let's see if I can get this up. Because I think this was amazing. Let's see if we can share our screen here. Let's go over here.
That was powerful, and it basically it made me think of Lion King. When yeah. All right, so
I was surprised, but his face,
what?
His face
like,
was
what's
priceless.
going on here?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I had to really research. I can
glad
get
that
the
you did
context from it to see what was going on, and it was basically no, I'm not agreeing to whatever that is, and. This is in court. This is the basically. All right. So here's what I understand. In 1840, the British and Maori tribes in New Zealand made a deal called the Treaty of Wataigi. The British wanted to control New Zealand and have sovereignty over them. In order for Maori to agree to any treaty with the British, the Maori was understanding that this would be an agreement that they would work together in good faith. The British promised to protect Maori's land, culture, and their rights. But guess what? The contract was written in English and didn't represent what Maori agreed to. So they knew what they were doing even then. It's all, very divisive. The Wataigi tribe, which investigate breaches of the treaty, has criticized the bill for excluding Maori's input and for misinterpreting the treaty's intent. So that young lady you saw, Hana Rawati Mapi Clark, and others opposed the bill and were upset because its attempt to redefine the principles of the treaty without consulting with the Maori people. After this, what you just saw as far as the video, Hannah was suspended from the parliament for the act of the protest. So I don't know how long she was suspended for, but she was actually one of the Maori descendants. So this is nothing as far as even what we have gone through the civil rights, through things that we feel as though that we've, as Black people in America, that we standed on to say no, we're not accepting that.
She stood on business. She definitely stood on business. You can't tell the Maori trial, right?
Yeah.
You can't tell people not the people. You can't tell Maori tribe not to do their indigenous kind of outspoken their language or their what they do. You can't tell people
Or not to look out for their own.
That part, right? And so if we know, Black people know, if we know that there was things that wasn't right and you need to right them, you're not going to tell us to be quiet, right?
Hence the voting.
Hence voting, right? You're not going to tell us to be quiet. And so I think what's happening, there's this world exodus of waking up, and it's shaking the world at this point. because there's a lot of things, even when we talk about the African diaspora and things that we have taken from Africa, they're like, wait, nah, somebody need to be held accountable for that. Not only the minerals and resources, but you took a people. Yeah. You took a people from Africa and brought them here to work for y'all. So now you got to pay up. That's what the whole conversation about reparations was about, right? And so I think we need to understand certain things that happen, especially as it relates to foreign affairs, international relations, because what happened in the parliament needs to happen other places too. Things need to be shut down unless you acknowledge certain things. And the problem is once you acknowledge it, now you're responsible for it.
So is this the quote where it says, the sins of the father fall
yes.
upon the children?
That's right. That's exactly what that is. That's exactly what that is.
That was your good news and your bad news from Class Lady Spark.
That's your good news and bad news from Class Lady Spark. There's no doubts.
Now, that was good news and bad news, though. The 40 million makeover for...
I ain't say nothing. See, that's your guilty conscience, because you always be hitting us with, crazy stuff.
Yeah, no,
you was good today.
Yeah. All right, cool.
You got something for us, classy lady, or we good?
Oh, Lady
Lady Esther.
I mean, Lady Esther.
Yeah, I just...
You got something for us, or we good?
Yes, I wanted to give y'all, my little entertainment news today, since we didn't have any last week. So I'm going to jump into some stuff that's been going on this last week here. But of course,
Yeah, for sure.
I got to start with the Mike Tyson fight last night.
That's sports, of course.
I got questions.
Everybody got questions.
I do.
But who will reign supreme was the biggest question that everybody was talking about. And it was headlines all over the place. And the question has been answered for the last year and a half. They've been talking about this fight, and it got canceled once and pushed back because of health issues. And I said then we should just sit down, but people don't listen to me. Okay, so we got our answer last night. The Paul versus Tyson fight finally arrived, and I'm sorry to say it did disappoint. 58-year-old veteran Mike Tyson squared off with new kid on the block, 27-year-old Jake Paul, for a fight you don't need to remember. The distance of the fight went 8 rounds instead of 12, and the rounds were 2 minutes, and that was at Mike Tyson's request. Instead of the usual 3 minutes, Tyson opted for the 2-minute round, saying that the shorter time would make for more action-packed rounds. However, Tyson failed to bring any action at all. From start to finish, Tyson looked unstable to me. Wobbly legs, his speed of his movement and reflexes were slow. And he flinched a lot, is what I saw it. As if he was scared. Like when somebody throw a punch, you kind of do this thing. That's kind of how he looked all night long. I thought his reach was too short. It was almost like he struggled even trying to get inside, trying to find a way in. He only landed 18 punches within the 16-minute bout, averaging about 1 minute a punch, one punch a minute. He spent more time in the ring swinging at the air and biting on his gloves. Did y'all notice that?
He talked about it too.
He did, because they kept asking him what was going on, and I was going, what is happening? He said he did it all the time throughout his career, but I don't remember seeing that. Not like we saw it last night. I think Jake Paul could have murdered Mike Tyson if he wanted to, but I personally think he saw what everyone else saw and therefore spare him any further embarrassment and not having him leave, with an injury or being knocked out, because it was Mike Tyson. The fight went all 8 rounds, going to scorecards with Paul for a judge's unanimous decision, giving him the fight. So he's the rightful winner now. So what do y'all think? What are y'all thoughts? Do you think Tyson's legacy is ruined after last night's fight? Or do you think, how serious is bragging rights for Jake Paul to be able to say he beat the GOAT Iron Mike Tyson?
He's still an icon to me. He's definitely, it didn't tarnish it. For me,
yeah,
it didn't. One, I think it was fixed.
Of course.
I think that Tyson said, how much is the purse? It's like, you want my behind out? Like, you want me to do what?
Yeah, did they pay
that part?
They paid
right?
for that part too.
But I think to be 58 now, 4 years ago he fought Roy Jones and he didn't look the same way. 58, you almost at 60.
Yeah.
He's starting to age. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but to be where he is in the shape and the spar, like you could see the labored breathing and stuff. He's still in amazing shape. Should he be up there fighting? No. Would I be more interested if he was fighting Holyfield or somebody of his peer? Yeah. I don't think that the social influencer would have knocked Mike out. I don't see that. I just don't. I don't think he's experienced enough. But he gave him his flowers. To me, the fight that I really enjoyed was Ramos and Serrano. Like the woman fight.
Taylor
and Serrano.
Serrano, and then Ramos and the guy. Yeah. Those two guys, the undercard fight and then the women fights.
The best anyway.
Yeah, those fights to me were worth that. And then the second thing I wanted to know is if Netflix is going to continue to do this type of fights internationally, like this was like or national level. I don't know. At first I was like, is it my pixels on my internet? And then other people was like, no, it was everybody having that. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, the Netflix, it was too many people watching it at that time that they probably couldn't take that weight.
No, but let me give you a little tip for that. When you're trying to watch something live and everybody's on it like that, it's almost like a thing where it's online, it's internet. So you're getting that thing where it's buffering, so it keeps stopping and freezing. So what I did was I'm home watching it and I was by myself. I'm not hearing anything. I just rewinded it a couple seconds. Yeah. That way I'm watching the part that's already rendered.
Oh, okay.
And that's the part that's live that you're trying
right. to. So you put yourself 10, like let's say
10 seconds behind.
Right. Yep.
Okay, so I'm behind what everybody else is seeing, but I'm flowing.
Right.
And because it paused on me like 2 or 3 times, and I was like, I know what I'm gonna do. So I just backed it up, and when I backed it up, I had no problem.
And see, I had that option, but then I saw the button that said "Watch Live," and I was like, it was so clear.
I hit the Watch Live button, but then
no, I'm saying if I'd have listened to you, I should have went and fast forwarded 10 seconds up till I shouldn't have hit the Watch Live because
I hit the Watch Live and then just hit rewind a couple seconds.
Got it.
And watched from there.
Got you.
Yeah, so I was just a few seconds behind, but it was fine.
It'll be like what happened with what was his name? Justin Timberlake and Janet Jackson. They was like, from now on, everything is not gonna be live. It'll be a 10-second delay.
I know.
So yeah. All right, got you. But those are my thoughts. I don't know what C thinks.
Oh yeah. No, he's like when I first heard about this, I said, no, leave it alone, don't do it. And last night, I feel like that was the point proved for me. I was just happy that he didn't get hurt, because I kept saying, no, don't do this. If you get knocked out, you too old. Like that was, I had a fear for him. I just wanted him to be okay.
His knee just kept looking like it was about to buckle.
Yeah,
he had the wrap
the brace on. He said, he mentioned that too. He said he did have injury, but he wasn't going to pull out for that. And he said, he actually said that this was something that he did for himself. And it was a personal goal. He did this for himself and not for anyone else. So I'm just happy that he didn't get hurt. And when they asked him if he was going to fight again, he said I don't know. It depends on the circumstances. So the circumstances of this fight was Mike took in around 20 million. They didn't say exactly what it was, but Paul received 40 million.
Oh, he did. But I thought Tyson was the drawer. Like he was the one who drew the crowd in.
Yeah, but I think Paul was always getting the most money. It wasn't, and that wasn't even because he won.
He was part of the promotion.
Yeah.
All right. Well, nice.
Because he was the one who wanted this fight. He called for it. So, So, and if y'all think Mike Tyson is old, well, here's a little boxing fact. Albert Hughes Jr. holds the Guinness World Record for the oldest fighter. Hughes fought a match in Indianapolis in 2019 at the age of 70 years old. Before Hughes, Steve Ward had been recognized as the oldest professional boxer of all time, fighting just shy of his 65th birthday.
Wow. And I thought at one time it was Foreman and them because they all came back, but no. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because they came back to these guys. 70 is up there. I don't know how to do that.
Nice.
No. Okay. So more entertainment news. Your boy Ray J. He's everywhere doing everything. We always got something going on. But this time, folks are concerned. So did you guys hear about the fight he had at the club?
Oh, yeah.
With the Diddy Boys or something?
Yes. So Christian and Justin kind of approached him about comments that had been made he made a comment saying taking A, like over there, in reference to what's been going on at the Diddy parties and everything like that. You know, they've been taking A over there. So they didn't like that, and they kind of approached him, and it turned into a whole thing to where a bunch of sources said Chris Brown was the one who had to he was the one who ended up being able to get them to calm down, resolve, and just kind of break it up. Now, Puffy's sons, Christian and Justin, have been going hard trying to defend their dad. And it even something came out today that even with they say he broke jail rules or whatever. He's been using his kids to kind of manipulate people, blackmail them and stuff like that to, and just intimidate
Didn't he just have a
victims and
birthday
stuff like that.
party or something?
Who did?
Puffy. Didn't he just celebrate a birthday?
Oh, it was somebody's birthday. Yeah.
Right. So I think the kids were like singing happy birthday. Is that part of like they're saying that that's manipulative tactics? Or
No, they're saying that they've been doing stuff like for him. Like they've been going to people and
talking to them.
Yes.
Oh.
To victims.
Oh.
And stuff like that, like blackmailing victims.
Oh,
and that
wow.
Sort of thing.
They can get locked up.
They
can't
can, but that's been a big thing. And so they've been saying everything to everybody. Like anybody who's saying something about their father, they're like on one right now trying to, say something to everybody. So of course they ran into Ray J at the club, and because he had something to say, they said something to him too. So fast forward to last week, he's on Instagram doing this weird, they say he's like trolling Nicki Minaj. So I don't know if y'all seen that conversation, but that was a really weird conversation. Nicki was pretty annoyed with him. She pretty much saying stuff like, you've been in my DMs, you keep jumping on my threads, you keep asking sending requests to get on my lives. Like, okay, you got my attention, what do you want? And he just kept, why you talking to me like that? I'm a Barb, I love you. And she's like, she was saying that he was weird, like, and she flat out asked him, wasn't you just in a fight last week at the club? Like, what are you doing? What are you doing with your life? what happened with your career? When are you going to come out of the closet? These are the questions that she was asking him. It was yeah. She questioned his sexuality, everything. And he kept saying he was a Barb and he was a fan. And when she asked him for like the third time, what do you want? So he said, I want you to sign me.
Yeah, I want to be shit.
I want to be signed. She was like, and then that's when she was like, well, what happened to your stuff? And she was looking at him crazy. I was like, she was more concerned. This 40-minute call ended when she asked him to sing One Wish to see how he sounded. his one hit. And he started singing, and then he started dancing. Like it got, like he got up from now he's not even facing the camera. He's doing all these moves and then she just hung up on him. It was just like, when I say it was, to me, just embarrassing. I don't even know why he even did this to himself. But okay, so fast forward to yesterday. Ray J does an interview on the Jamal Bryant podcast with Pastor Jamal Bryant, where he opens up about the confrontation with Diddy's sons and the conversation with Nicki Minaj. Ray J talked about him being misunderstood and has to find a better way to separate joking and being serious, because oftentimes people misconstrue the two and they don't, and vice versa. When he's being serious, they think he's joking, and then when he's joking, they think he's serious. As a result, over the years, he's dealt with issues such as depression and even suicide. Ray J said his comments were made out of sarcasm because he doesn't believe all the stories that are coming out of all the Diddy stuff. Like, okay, some stuff might have happened, but it was more of, okay, so they just taking A over there, like, okay, enough is enough. He said it was supposed to be more like that, and not, so much of what everybody else is making it out to be. And when they asked him, did he have any regrets about, speaking his mind on the P. Diddy situation, all that, he said no, because he said after he saw the Cassie video, that changed everything for him. And he said he's going to speak his truth no matter what. But he's been dealing with so much stuff of people trying to stop him from saying things. And he says, unless I say these people did this to me, the very bad people, and have been controlling me the whole time, they'll kill me. The people who are trying to tell the truth from the enemies who will cut their throats. if they expose what it is, they're dealing with billionaires trying to keep their image clean. So they'll do anything to shut down the truth. And that's why I've been wearing a vest lately. He talked about, he's like, this is what they do. So if y'all find out that I died and they say, oh, Ray J died from like a fentanyl overdose, that's not true. That mean they killed me. Like, so this is all the stuff he's like, he's going into. He asked the pastor to start a pastor protection program because, you know, he just needs, you know, all this stuff. So he asked him about the Nicki Minaj conversation, and he said, some of the stuff she said to me just left me stuck. I haven't been the same since. And then, you know, pastor ended the interview by actually praying with him. He said in his 2 seasons, he's never done that, but he's like, let me pray with you now. So what do y'all think about all his...
Well, I saw a video that he started to like threaten the pastor if he let the video out.
Really?
Yeah. So
the same pastor,
Brian. He went on.
This interview was yesterday.
Okay. Look for it. He's telling the pastor, "Yeah, I'll pull you off the pulpit if you play that video." He's basically threatening the pastor to not play the video. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Because although they just released it yesterday, it must have been done prior.
Yeah.
So here's the thing about Ray J. Of course, I don't know him, but I feel like it's the child called wolf. If you play so much, no one knows when you're serious. Yeah. And it's like it's to that point. Nobody knows if he's really crying for help
or not.
Like you don't know, and it's almost like, okay, let's stop playing. Let's do a safe word.
Yeah.
If this is the word you use, this is the word we know that you're not playing. Like, I don't know another way to describe it, because honestly, he just released a video threatening the same pastor who prayed with him that he was going to hurt him and pull him off the pulpit if he released the video, because there's things in the video of the interview that he didn't want the people to know.
And that's crazy. That's so crazy. And so what you said, I have similar feelings, because I always pegged him as somebody who just likes attention. And is just looking for attention. Yeah. Right. So him saying, him talking about wanting to, like, all of the they're going to kill me stuff, and some of that stuff you don't know how to take it. But to your point, because he used the word comedy, you're not a comedian, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what it is. Exactly what you said. You play too much. Mm-hmm. That's what it is. So
and he's known for that.
And you're known for that. Right. So it's not like, and even when you got a straight face, you still be playing. Mm-hmm. So people don't know. And that's what you have led your life to be. And that's how everybody looks at you. And so I don't know why you're upset with him, because he sat on that in that interview saying, I'm telling my truth. I'm letting it all out. Like, I don't care anymore.
Here's the other thing I think that the Hollywood, aka Holly Weird, it's like, Ray has been in the business since he was a kid. So he's like a Hollywood kid, like those Disney kids. Right. He's been in the limelight of acting since he was like 7. Mm-hmm. From what I've seen on television, he might say it's even later. You know what I mean?
And he said in the interview, because of his sister, she would take him. He said, I wasn't even into it. That was her thing. She would take me everywhere with her, and so then he started, getting more involved. But it was just kind of like him, his mom and dad, and his sister, because of course her parents were very involved in her life as a childhood kid. And he asked him in that interview, he was asked in the interview about his childhood, and was that time period better for him, and he said yes, like that was when things were like great.
And they like everything. He was a child. But that's the thing. I think that when you're raising a privilege, and I don't know their lives,
when he was with, I guess, spending more time with his family. Right.
But
he's he has to get back to that, because he made it seem like he hadn't seen his family.
Could be. But lately. I think even growing up in that type of that type of limelight, you don't even know who you are. I think that's maybe where Ray J is. He tries to fit in. And he has a brilliant mind. He's a great businessman from the interviews I've seen. But I feel like he needs, and this is like what we were talking about with the Democrat, he needs a mentor. He needs somebody that could, and he might be. I don't know. I don't think he's too. I don't think it's too late, but he needs somebody who can, take him under his wing and try to help him. I don't know. Like it seems like even when Kanye went through what he went through, a lot of the celebrities that are of a different status came to his aid to say, "Hey, let's talk." Mm-hmm. So that's probably what he needs. And Leslie had mentioned. She said, "I saw that. I think it's a publicity stunt." He apologized for threatening the pastor. So it was something that was said. So yeah,
he got very emotional at the beginning, which I thought was interesting. And that was my first. I said, "Is this? Are we real here?" And then I think but he set the tone for his life to be looked at that way.
Right. I just think because I think that a lot of times when they're actors, they don't even know how to shut it off. They don't, and that he doesn't even know how to get in touch with his real feelings because he's been in the limelight on go and acting for so long. You lose sight of who you truly are.
That's interesting because I find him to have more experience just doing reality stuff than even being a real actor.
Yeah. Even it's still like stage.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's like you're constantly putting on for something.
Yeah, you're still
putting on the show for something.
You're still putting on.
All right, well, to end this, I'm going to end this with my television film update. Can I get a drum roll like you be giving Civil for her awards? So this year's Academy Awards have asked Conan O'Brien to be the next Oscars host. Conan has MC other high-profile award shows such as the Emmys in 2022 and 2026 and the White House Correspondents' Dinner in 95 and 2013. But this will be his first time as an Oscar host. O'Brien joins the list of Oscar hosts that include Johnny Carson, Billy Crystal, David Letterman, Whoopi Goldberg, Chris Rock, Jon Stewart, Hugh Jackman, and Neil Patrick Harris. So yesterday he said in a statement, "America demanded it, and now it's happening. Taco Bell's new cheesy Chipotle Supreme. In other words, I'm hosting the Oscars."
I like that. Too bad Kevin Hart didn't make that list.
Yeah, I think he did. He did. The Oscars will air live on ABC on March 2nd, 2025.
No doubt. That's what's up.
I know, and that's your entertainment news for this week.
No doubt. We Talk Weeklies after the talk of WPPMLP Philadelphia 106.5 FM. We Talk Weeklies after the talk with your boy Charles Greg and the beautiful.
Classy Lady Sparkle.
And the beautiful.
Lady Esther.
Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you tune in next week, man. That's how we do it. Appreciate you for tuning in. Make sure you continue to like, follow, and subscribe to We Talk Weekly. Make sure you tell a friend and share it. And I'll get with you next week. Holla at your boy early. Peace.